Chapter 1389 Difficult to refuse such kindness. 3. Everyone felt that this was an excellent suggestion. Worshipping an immortal was already a deep-rooted mindset, and if they could find a true immortal to worship, they would be more than willing. However, it was all up to the immortal. The immortal just exposed the Dragon Court sect, and was evidently an immortal who did not care about fame or fortune, unlike the avaricious and insatiable Dragon Court sect. Had the Dragon Court sect not courted death and offended the immortal, she would not have cared about these matters. Looking at everyone's nervous expressions, Yi Qingtang was about to tear up from laughter on the inside. Was this not her objective of coming to Floating Island? She exposed the Dragon Court sect previously to lay a foundation for this. As long as she got rid of the Dragon Court sect, her identity as an immortal would be solidified. Given the customs of the citizens on this mainland, wouldn't they worship her? However, in order to display her immortal demeanor, Yi Qingtang still had to keep up with her act. Everyone did not receive Yi Qingtang's reply, and could not help but be a little worried. Immortal Su, what Emperor Qi said makes sense. We understand that you're unwilling to interfere with immortal affairs, but on the account of all humans in the world, please show some benevolence. The Yuan Kingdom Emperor did not object Emperor Qi and supported him unusually. After all, it would definitely be beneficial for the Yuan Kingdom if Immortal Su built a sect. Don't worry, Immortal. We will not interfere with anything you do, and will definitely go to all lengths to fulfill your orders. Right. We will listen to all of your arrangements. Even if you don't have the time to teach us, you only need to allow us to occasionally listen to a few words that you say. The Emperor also hurriedly pleaded for the Immortal to stay in order to save their reputation. Yi Qingtang thought that it was about enough and immediately replied with reluctance. Forget it. Since you all are so sincere, I will just build a sect. However, I have no intention to manage the minor matters of the sect. Hearing that Yi Qingtang finally caved in, everyone was delighted and did not dare to trouble Yi Qingtang. It's all right. There's no need. You just need to keep your mind on cultivating. We will handle the rest. Yi Qingtang nodded slightly. You must be exhausted after everything today, Immortal. Please get some rest and let us handle the things here. The emperors were truly content this time. So, what if they lost a quack? They nabbed a true immortal this time round. Seeing that things were settled, Yi Qingtang did not decline and immediately rode the white tiger to her rest place. Everyone was filled with reverence as they looked at the huge white tiger beneath Yi Qingtang and felt the tremor from its footsteps. The immortal's mount is indeed extraordinary. I only saw the immortal carrying a little white tiger in her arms, but unexpectedly, this little white tiger can transform into such a gigantic creature in an instant. An emperor lamented as he had never seen such a ferocious mount like the white tiger before. How can the immortal's mount be an ordinary animal? It must definitely be a divine animal. The white tiger, who was not far away, heard the discussion, and its ears twitched silently.
Fuck.
I am a fiend celestial beast. A bunch of ignorant people, Yi Qingtang chuckled lightly. According to the current situation, she would accomplish the third mission in no time once her sect was formed. After all, in order to recover their reputation, those emperors and powerful figures would definitely promote the new sect enthusiastically. Chapter 1390 Picking up scraps. 1. At that thought, Yi Qingtang could not help but turn around to look at the god of nature, who had been floating behind her. Who knew how many nebula points this cunning god would give her this time? A number popped up in her mind for some reason. 3 points. The floating island was the Dragon Court sect's main camp. Although there were many branches across the mainland, all the wealth was amassed in Floating Island. Yi Qingtang was now a legitimate immortal, and everyone hoped for her to stay and build a sect. Thus, there was an unspoken consensus that all the offerings that the Dragon Court sect swindled would be handed to Yi Qingtang as a form of reverence to her. When everyone was on the hunt for the quacks of the Dragon Court sect to vent their anger, Yi Qingtang headed straight to Dragon Court sect's treasury instead. Over these years, the Dragon Court sect had collected plenty of goods. That treasury was built underground and had over 10 levels. Each level had a shockingly large area and was filled with all kinds of jewels and treasures. Yi Qingtang had no interest in those treasures at all, as she was not in this world to gain a fortune. After looking through more than 10 levels, there was nothing that caught her attention. Dharma treasures were even more out of the question. How could there be any Dharma treasures in a world with such a humble martial realm? However, just as Yi Qingtang's excitement dwindled, she suddenly discovered a number of antique utilities in a corner of the last level. However, the age and quality of the utilities were very difficult to distinguish. Perhaps because it was not made of gold or silver, the Dragon Court sect people did not pay much attention to it and casually left it there. In that pile of utilities, there was a locked chest that seemed to be rather historic. It was covered in dust, and most of its engravings had disappeared over the years. Yi Qingtang casually opened that chest. Inside the chest were a pile of old ancient texts. Yi Qingtang flipped through a book, and her expression changed. This book, Yi Qingtang's eyes widened as the ancient text actually recorded details of techniques to cultivate into an immortal. Yi Qingtang read about half of the book patiently, and the more she read, the more she realized that the information in this ancient text was very detailed. It was just that the cultivation system was different from Yi Qingtang's world. The foundation of cultivation was not spirit energy but primordial qi, a carrier formed by absorbing the essence in the world. Could there really have been immortals on this mainland? Yi Qingtang mumbled as she flipped through other books that were all related to immortal cultivation techniques. As a cultivator who cultivated spirit energy, she was naturally aware of things pertaining to cultivation. The primordial qi cultivation, as recorded in the book, was very similar to the spirit energy cultivation technique, yet they were essentially different. Even Yi Qingtang felt that these items may very likely be real. For security purposes, Yi Qingtang stored all those utilities and the chest of ancient text into her space ring. Then, she returned to her room and summoned a Dragon Court sect ambassador to ask about the background of these items. That ambassador's face was bruised, and he did not dare to conceal anything from Yi Qingtang. Thus, he spoke about everything. These things were originally offered to the Dragon Court sect by the Lanling Emperor. However, those things were torn and tattered, and just with those, it was simply impossible to satiate the Dragon Court sect's greed. The Dragon Court sect was extremely displeased and ordered the Lanling Kingdom to prepare a new set of offerings. Chapter 1391, Picking Up Scraps. 2. Nevertheless, the Lanling Kingdom was originally a small and barren country and could not give any valuable offerings. It was unable to satisfy the Dragon Court sect's requirement by the deadline and was condemned by the Dragon Court sect. Thus, the Dragon Court sect dispatched its army to the Lanling Kingdom and destroyed the entire country. As for other issues, the ambassador was not clear. Yi Qingtang told that person to take his leave before returning to those ancient texts. The people on this mainland had an insane obsession with immortals. Yi Qingtang originally thought that they were abnormal, but now she could not help but doubt if immortals really appeared on this mainland before. For example, the first emperor of the Yuan Kingdom also said that he saw an immortal before. And the location of the Lanling Kingdom thousands of years ago was where the first Yuan emperor saw an immortal. Perhaps immortals really appeared before, and it was on the land before the Lanling Kingdom was established. As for the offerings that the Lanling Kingdom gave, they were very likely left behind by that immortal. These were truly good things. Unfortunately, the Dragon Court sect people could not recognize these goods. Not only did they fail to use it, but they even took their anger out on the Lanling Kingdom and destroyed the entire nation. In this case, all the clues were cut off. Yi Qingtang could not be certain whether such things were true or not, but her interest was piqued, and she wanted to try out those cultivation techniques recorded in the ancient texts. It was an all-new cultivation model, but Yi Qingtang experienced an extremely intriguing feeling, as though all the invisible essence in the world entered her body slowly throughout the cultivation process. Yi Qingtang faintly sensed an unusual sensation and found that her dantian was actually strengthening gradually. The immortal cultivation techniques on those ancient texts were actually real. Yi Qingtang initially thought that she could at most raise her cultivation base in this world and had never thought about the treasures in the Star Pavilion. However, She unexpectedly obtained this set of cultivation techniques now. Using this period of time, Yi Qingtang cultivated her spirit energy to raise her cultivation base, while also exploring ways to master the new cultivation method. As Yi Qingtang obtained this pretty decent item, the emperors outside began wrapping up the situation as well. Those emperors were merciless people. In order to prevent the revelation of their foolishness to the world, they killed everyone in the Dragon Court sect and made a public announcement that the immortal in the Dragon Court sect had passed on and that the immortal world sent an even stronger immortal to their mainland. The citizens did not understand the reason, but quickly accepted it out of their trust in the king and powerful figures. Under the joint collaboration of various emperors, Yi Qingtang's sect was built rapidly, and its scale superseded that of the Dragon Court sect. Dragon Court sect's branches across the mainland were secretly destroyed by the emperors and replaced by the new sect. The replacements proceeded silently as ordered by those with authority and spread across the entire mainland. In this period of time, Yi Qingtang remained in the floating island to study that new cultivation method, while the god of nature did not notify her of the completion of the mission. She was not anxious, though, as obtaining the admiration of everyone on this mainland would not happen so quickly. Chapter 1392 Picking Up Scraps 3 In just a month, a sect named Shattered Stars was established in this mainland. Under the active brainwashing by all the emperors, Shattered Stars replaced the Dragon Court sect completely and gained the faith of plenty of people in a short period of time. Just as their prior promise, Yi Qingtang did not need to worry about any matters in Shattered Stars, as everything was arranged by the various emperors, who picked out the most faithful believers to manage everything. Any negative comments regarding Shattered Stars were completely wiped out. Yi Qingtang remained in Floating Island and cultivated for a month. Her cultivation realm advanced to Arcane Supremacy 8th Heaven, but she was at a bottleneck right now, and it was tough for her skills to advance any further. It may be because the spirit energy in this world had reached its limit of supporting rapid advancement, and Yi Qingtang might not advance any further even if she remained here. She did not know whether time here was the same as in the central mainland. If she stayed here for too long, she may not know if something happened in the central mainland. Then, Yi Qingtang decided to speed up the actions to gain the admiration of more people on this mainland so that she could accomplish her mission as fast as possible and leave this world. The fastest way to gain everyone's admiration was to teach them the ways to become more powerful. Yi Qingtang initially intended to teach them the spirit energy cultivation technique, but this was most effective with a solid foundation from young. Furthermore, she discovered that the people on this mainland did not even have a spirit root. Although a spirit root could be cultivated, it was too difficult and did not match Yi Qingtang's current requirements. Ultimately, Yi Qingtang took out the immortal cultivation technique. She had just learned this technique and gained some understanding. This cultivation technique belonged to this world, and it should be more suitable for them. Then, Yi Qingtang specially ordered the countries to select a few youths with superb endowments and send them to Floating Island. Upon hearing that news, the emperors were ecstatic and hurriedly searched for youths with excellent endowments to send to Floating Island in hopes that they would obtain the immortal's guidance. Some emperors even sent their own children that were pretty gifted. Although they were from the royal family, they were very qualified as well, since no country had the audacity to fool the immortal after all. The youngest of them all was a 12 while the oldest was 15. This was the age range that was the easiest to accept novel things. Without wasting any time, Yi Qingtang immediately summed up the immortal cultivation techniques, relayed them to the youth, and guided them on the ways to cultivate. The effects after half a month were pretty amazing. As these youths had good endowments from the start, in addition to their reverence for the immortal, they were extremely diligent and dedicated. Seeing that the results were more or less achieved, she sent all of those youth back and gave them the identity of the Shattered Stars ambassador so that they could spread this cultivation technique to various countries in this mainland in her place. Since the martial cultivation in this world was pitifully low, the effect of this type of cultivation technique could completely compete with the techniques in Yi Qingtang's original world if the people cultivated properly. After learning this cultivation technique, The people on the mainland seemed to have received a treasure, and this technique began to circulate around the entire mainland in no time. Apart from cultivation techniques, Yi Qingtang also taught the gifted youth how to refine pills and their formulas. Although she was also a quack, she was an extremely responsible one. Even if a true immortal came, he would probably teach these things as well. Everyone on this mainland was extremely grateful to Yi Qingtang. A few months passed in the blink of an eye. One evening, Yi Qingtang finally received the God of Nature's notification. The third mission is completed. Yi Qingtang heaved a sigh of relief. You can obtain the nebula points for this mission, the God of Nature said lazily. Yi Qingtang did not pay much attention either. However, Yi Qingtang was startled when she saw that the God of Nature actually gave her 1,000 nebula points. What is going on? This cunning god's nature changed. Chapter 1393 Mission completed when the God of Nature saw Yi Qingtang's face of disbelief and scoffed. I said that the one-star constellation is too weak. The missions here do not have any difficulty. However, since you completed all the missions, I will naturally take care of you since you are the first explorer who entered this illusory void in the past thousands of years. The God of Nature spoke very nobly, but Yi Qingtang simply did not believe him. You're afraid that I will not come in the future, right? Yi Qingtang exposed the God of Nature's intentions immediately. The God of Nature's face froze, and he frowned. What a joke. What is there for me to be afraid of? Yi Qingtang tugged her lips. Although the God of Nature stayed by her side occasionally in this period of time, she noticed that he was not around most of the time. The strength of the constellation would affect the explorer, but had no effect on the God of Nature. Yet he despised it in all possible ways. Most likely, only after the explorer entered the world of the constellation would the God of Nature's consciousness enter as well. Moreover, this dazzling world was much more interesting than the empty, illusory void. In the thousands of years that the Holy Lord of Shadows sealed the illusory void, she was probably the first who entered this place. The God of Nature's consciousness that had been bored for a few thousand years wanted her to enter a few more worlds of constellations so that he could wander around other beautiful mortal worlds. All right. Since you completed the missions, you can choose to leave this place. The God of Nature opened the door to exit almost too eagerly. Yi Qingtang looked at the door before her and shifted her gaze outside the window. The view outside the window was like a painting, and there was a huge statue in construction. That was a statue of Yi Qingtang that the believers built on floating island for worship purposes. There were plenty of such statues all over the entire mainland. Yi Qingtang took another look at the place where she spent months in and subsequently stepped into the door. The world around her spun, and Yi Qingtang returned to the illusory void. Millions of stars before her shone brightly, as though the months of memories she had were just a dream. Your illusory void is quite realistic. Yi Qingtang looked at the God of Nature, who had turned into a radiant ball. The radiant ball moved around slightly. How do you know if that mainland is real or an illusion? Yi Qingtang was taken aback by what the radiant ball said. She knew that spiritual abodes could form mystic realms that were similar worlds to what the person had seen in their lives. Thus, she thought that that mainland was formed based on the radiant ball's past memories. However, Yi Qingtang was in deep thought after hearing what the radiant ball said. The God of Nature is neither real nor fake. Perhaps you will know whether that mainland is an illusion or if it truly exists. The radiant ball kept quiet after leaving her with that strange sentence. Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. Was it possible that the mainland really existed in this world? Everything she did previously was not just. The radiant ball's words had a deeper meaning, and Yi Qingtang could not make a judgment at that moment. However, Yi Qingtang never expected that perhaps on a certain day in the future, she would actually re-enter that mainland that was obsessed with immortal cultivation. She all the more would not have expected that the immortal cultivation technique she taught at the spur of a moment would actually transform the entire mainland completely. Perhaps the journey to cultivating into an immortal was about to begin. This was a story to be told later on. Chapter 1394 Mission completed. 2 Yi Qingtang did not plan to analyze what the god of nature meant. It was hard for him to be generous to give 1,000 nebula points. Yi Qingtang was about to select some treasures from the Stars Pavilion but found out that the Stars Pavilion could not even be opened. I forgot to tell you that the nebula points you obtained can only be used to exchange for items in the Stars Pavilion the next time you enter the world of constellations, the god of nature said leisurely. She fell into his trap. Once again. Yi Qingtang's lips twitched a little, and she was wondering why the god of nature was so generous. So, this was waiting for her.
How?
Do you want to enter other worlds of constellations? The radiant ball said awkwardly as the constellations behind it shone brightly. Yi Qingtang resisted her strong urge to rip that radiant ball apart. There's no need. She had been in that mainland for several months and did not know if the time inside and outside was similar. It was time she came out. As for the Stars Pavilion, she can just come in the future. Although the god of nature was a little cunning, the worlds of constellations in the illusory void were excellent places to cultivate. The radiant ball was displeased, but he did not say anything. However, that radiant ball diminished in size until it disappeared completely, as though he was a little angry. Yi Qingtang did not care whether he was angry or not. The moment the main entrance to the illusory void behind her appeared, she carried the little white tiger and walked out of the door. The tightly shut door was opened slowly, and Yi Qingtang finally left that illusory void. The instant the door opened, she saw 2 identical figures standing still outside the door. Yao, seeing that Yi Qingtang walked out of the illusory void, Minggu immediately leaped into her arms and rubbed his face in her arms excitedly. Yao, you left for such a long time. I thought that you'd leave and not come back again. Minggu mumbled. She left for a long time? Yi Qingtang raised her brow. She could not really have stayed in the illusory void for a few months, could she? Fool, Ming Wang said coldly from aside. Subsequently, he walked to Yi Qingtang and kneeled on a knee abruptly. Holy Lord, the past 5 days have been tough. Yi Qingtang looked at Ming Wang. Although he still had an indifferent expression, Yi Qingtang clearly felt that his attitude toward her changed for some reason. However, it had been a few months in the illusory void, but it had only been 5 days on the central mainland. At the thought that she was still a yin-yang perfected Lord 10th heaven 5 days ago, but an arcane supremacy 8th heaven now, Yi Qingtang was extremely elated. She advanced a whole realm in just 5 days. Who could compare to such a cultivation speed? Instantly, Yi Qingtang made up her mind to make good use of this illusory void in the future, if she was free. Perhaps she could reach the Holy Venerate realm inside in about a year. It must be known that Yi Qingtang only reached the Holy Venerate after living for 300 years. If she could achieve that stage in a year, it would be such a sweet feeling. Of course, Yi Qingtang was aware that the faster the cultivation, the more dangerous the constellation. Holy Lord, you must be tired. Do return to rest. Mingwang spoke the same way as before and with a hint of toughness in his tone. However, the difference in his attitude was evident. In the past, this tough tone was used to test her, but now it was to mask his worry and care. Chapter 1395 Mission completed. 3 Yi Qingtang smiled on the inside. Entering this illusory void was really quite worth it. Not only did her skills improve greatly, but it even eliminated Ming Wang's suspicions toward her. Yi Qingtang did not say much and directly went to rest. When she came out just now, she realized that those utilities and ancient texts that she brought back from that mainland were still in her space ring. She was just unaware if those cultivation techniques could still be used once she returned to the central mainland. As Minggu watched Yi Qingtang leave, he blinked and stretched his hand out eagerly, wanting to follow her. In the end, before he could take more than 2 steps, he was pulled back by Ming Wang. Although they had the same height, Minggu instinctively curled his legs when he was held in the air by Ming Wang and looked at his older brother nervously. Yao just came out from the illusory void. Do not disturb her or else. Ming Wang narrowed his eyes slightly. At this instant, Ming Wang's way of addressing the Holy Lord of Shadows was changing silently. From the Holy Lord to Hua Yao. I understand. After being reminded by Ming Wang, Minggu realized that Yao was always exhausted after returning from the illusory void and required rest extremely. In that critical period, they would not go to disturb her. However, the Holy Lord of Shadows disappeared for many years, and Minggu forgot about these details. Yet Ming Wang remembered them clearly. After Yi Qingtang returned, she tried out the immortal cultivation techniques and realized that it was still usable. Although she had an additional method of cultivation, the energy she required for cultivation increased multiple folds as well. Since she wanted to become more powerful to seize the first mainland back, Yi Qingtang could not care about so much. In the next few days, Yi Qingtang clearly sensed that some elders and guardians in the Temple of Shadows had a subtle change of attitude. Those who strongly doubted her identity, like Ming Wang before, no longer doubted her anymore ever since she returned from the illusory void. After all, only the Holy Lord of Shadows could activate that illusory void. In the thousands of years that she disappeared, Ming Wang and the 8 tribe leaders attempted to activate it, but to no avail. Actually, Yi Qingtang was also confused as to why she could activate the illusory void. Similarly, it was strange that she could wear the 9 souls ring previously.
Fuck.
You can't be that Holy Lord of Shadows, can you? The little white tiger glanced at Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang stared at the little white tiger blankly. The Holy Lord of Shadows is in the skeleton tribe that is part of the undead clan, while I am a true human, Yi Qingtang said helplessly. Oh, the little white tiger looked at Yi Qingtang, but did not say anything further. It was in these few days where Yi Qingtang learned that Minggu and Ming Wang waited outside the door for 5 whole days without moving an inch ever since she entered the illusory void. Yi Qingtang finally lived in greater ease as she was relieved that Ming Wang no longer suspected her. However, Ming Wang was not the only one in the Temple of Shadows who suspected her. Although those undead clan tribe leaders whom she met before previously appeared respectful, Yi Qingtang could clearly sense their suspicious attitudes. Fortunately, the 8 tribe leaders did not visit the Temple of Shadows over this period of time. Yi Qingtang just managed to have a few days of rest, but a group of uninvited guests suddenly knocked on the door of the Temple of Shadows. Chapter 1396, Sacred Ground of Reflection 1, Sacred Ground of Reflection? Yi Qingtang looked at Lady Ghost, who delivered the information. Just a while ago, Lady Ghost suddenly notified her that a few ambassadors from the Sacred Ground of Reflection suddenly came to the Temple of Shadows. The Temple of Shadows and Sacred Ground of Reflection had always minded their own businesses, and Yi Qingtang could only come up with a reason for their sudden visit. Ling Yan. When they were in the Eternal Dynasty, the Sacred Ground of Reflection ambassador appeared to support the Sacred Ground of Reflection, but in reality, they supported the former emperor. Yet, ultimately, the Temple of Shadows interfered and allowed Ling Yan to ascend to the throne instead, completely destroying the plans of the Sacred Ground of Reflection. With a rough idea of their purpose of visit in mind, Yi Qingtang headed straight to the main hall without saying much. A group of sage-like men in white were standing in the center of the main hall. Ming Wang looked at the Sacred Ground of Reflection ambassadors expressionlessly. Evidently, Ming Wang also knew their purpose of visit even without those ambassadors speaking. In no time, Yi Qingtang arrived in the main hall. The gaze of the Sacred Ground of Reflection ambassadors sharpened at the sight of Yi Qingtang. Previously, that injured ambassador, who returned to the Sacred Ground of Reflection, reported that the Holy Lord of Shadows was at the scene, and this news surprised the Sacred Ground of Reflection. The Holy Lord of Shadows had disappeared for thousands of years. Why did she suddenly return? They were mostly doubtful when they set off for this trip, but all suspicions were gone when they saw the stunning lady seated on the black bone throne. This lady was exactly the same as the portrait of the Holy Lord of Shadows. Greetings, Holy Lord of Shadows. One ambassador stepped forward and greeted. Yi Qingtang scanned these Sacred Ground of Reflection ambassadors silently. Without much thinking, she was also aware of their purpose of visit. If it was before, the situation might have been a little tricky for her. But, currently, Yi Qingtang smiled faintly and rested her chin on a hand as she cast a glance at that person indifferently. Does the sacred ground of reflection not know the Temple of Shadows rules? Those ambassadors from the sacred ground of reflection were dumbfounded as they did not understand the meaning behind Yi Qingtang's words. However, upon hearing what Yi Qingtang said, Ming Wang immediately shot the sacred ground of reflection ambassadors a cold look and said, "One who sees our holy lord is to bow down to greet her." Looking at the increasingly thoughtful Ming Wang, Yi Qingtang's eyes smiled. Ever since Ming Wang's suspicions of her were eliminated, his work efficiency was extremely satisfactory. Yi Qingtang was not the real Holy Lord of Shadows either, and many people from the sacred ground of reflection sought her life to snatch the heart of the demon god in the previous lifetime. Thus, there was no need for her to be so polite to the sacred ground of reflection. Furthermore, how would the Holy Lord of Shadows who once ruled this mainland be afraid of the sacred ground of reflection? The lips of the sacred ground of reflection ambassadors twitched, and their expressions darkened. We are here as ambassadors and represent the sacred ground of reflection. How can we kneel to others? An ambassador scoffed. The Temple of Shadows was indeed glorious before, but that gloriousness was in the past. Then get lost, Yi Qingtang said coldly. The sacred ground of reflection ambassadors were dumbstruck by what Yi Qingtang said. The Holy Lord of Shadows disappeared for many years, but there were still rumors of her temperamental nature. However, they never expected that the Holy Lord of Shadows would be so arrogant to directly tell them to get lost. She simply did not have any regard for the sacred ground of reflection. Chapter 1397 Sacred Ground of Reflection. To the expressions of the ambassadors of the Sacred Ground of Reflection expression darkened. Immediately, the ambassador who was standing at the front said, "Holy Lord of Shadows, the Sacred Ground of Reflection has never interfered with the Temple of Shadows matters. Our forces are everywhere and very different. However, what you did in the Eternal Dynasty previously, before that person finished speaking, Yi Qingtang said impatiently to Ming Wang, "I don't wish to repeat myself." Almost instantly after Yi Qingtang said that, Ming Wang's eyes turned cold, and his figure turned into a ball of black shadows. Before that ambassador realized what was happening, he felt a sharp pain in his knees suddenly, and he fell on his knees with a thud. "If you have anything to say, speak on your knees," Yi Qingtang said. That ambassador's expression froze. He wanted to stand up, but Ming Wang's hand was pressed on his shoulder. Ming Wang merely placed his hands on the ambassador's shoulder lightly, but that ambassador felt that he seemed to be pressed down by a mountain and could not move an inch. Looking at the ambassador's foul expression, Yi Qingtang suddenly snickered. The sacred ground of reflection is really egotistical. How dare it send you small fries to speak to me? Does it really think there is no one in the Temple of Shadows? Yi Qingtang could tell that these ambassadors were at most at the arcane supremacy realm and thus were evidently not important members of the sacred ground of reflection. From the sacred ground of reflection's decision to send these people to the Temple of Shadows, it was clear that they belittled the Temple of Shadows. In the thousands of years that the Holy Lord of Shadows disappeared, the Temple of Shadows declined gradually while the sacred ground of reflection rose rapidly. That ambassador's expression turned even uglier after hearing what Yi Qingtang said. Meanwhile, Ming Wang found out that these people were not skilled enough a long time ago and was rather dissatisfied as well. Seeing that the situation was a little off, another ambassador immediately came forward, kneeled down, and bowed courteously. He smiled at Yi Qingtang and said, "Holy Lord of Shadows, please don't be angry. We are not very familiar with the Temple of Shadows rules and breached the rules slightly." Yi Qingtang originally wanted to make use of the subject as a pretext to chase the sacred ground of reflection ambassadors away, yet unexpectedly, there was a tactful person in the group. "We are here today for the Eternal Dynasty incident. May I know what was the reason behind your actions, Holy Lord of Shadows?" That person asked Yi Qingtang with a smile. "Do I still need to inform the sacred ground of reflection about what I do?" Yi Qingtang snickered. That person froze. The sacred ground of reflection's purpose of coming was to question the Temple of Shadows about the reason behind their interference in the Eternal Dynasty. Yet, they did not expect that the Holy Lord of Shadows would be this arrogant and not give them a chance to speak. The sacred ground of reflection is interested in many large kingdoms. I'm afraid the Temple of Shadows' interference is inappropriate. Yi Qingtang said immediately, I will support whoever I want to. Others do not have the qualifications to tell me what to do in front of me. That person was about to say something, but Yi Qingtang put on an impatient look. Ming Wang, throw them out. Anyways, she was not the real Holy Lord of Shadows, and it was none of her business even if the Temple of Shadows and Sacred Ground of Reflection really fought. Yi Qingtang's current mentality was to not put herself in the real Holy Lord's shoes. If the Sacred Ground of Reflection has the ability, it can just fight with the Temple of Shadows. Chapter 1398 Sacred Ground of Reflection 3 Ming Wang felt that it was disrespectful for the Sacred Ground of Reflection to send these small fries and immediately agreed to Yi Qingtang's orders. He lifted an ambassador up from the ground and threw him out. That ambassador was merely at the arcane supremacy realm and was not Ming Wang's opponent. After being thrown out, he fell flat on the stone stairs outside the palace and lost consciousness. The Sacred Ground of Reflection people did not think that Yi Qingtang would really order someone to strike at them. Holy Lord of Shadows, what do you mean by this? The ambassador, who was initially tactful, could not hold his smiles anymore. Get lost yourself or get thrown out by people? Yi Qingtang said coldly. The expressions of the ambassadors from the Sacred Ground of Reflection expression turned extremely ugly. The Sacred Ground of Reflection was also a top force in the central mainland, and even the emperors and powerful figures feared it. However, the Holy Lord of Shadows never showed them a good attitude, and even wanted them to get lost right now. The Sacred Ground of Reflection ambassadors, who had always carried themselves in a superior manner, were boiling with anger. Nonetheless, they were not foolish. They were currently in the Temple of Shadows territory, and they would be at a disadvantage if they really fell out with Yi Qingtang. Moreover, their skills were not very high, and the Sacred Ground of Reflection sent them with the intention to test the Temple of Shadows. If they really fought, none of them would be able to leave the Temple of Shadows alive. Then, those ambassadors immediately left with a gloomy face, without waiting for Ming Wang to do the deed. However, they would bear this grudge. The Sacred Ground of Reflection is behaving more and more inappropriately. They actually sent these pieces of trash to the Temple of Shadows. Lady Ghost commented coldly as she watched the Sacred Ground of Reflection people leave. The Temple of Shadows was indeed on the decline in the past thousands of years. However, their Holy Lord had returned, and returning to their peak was not an issue. The Sacred Ground of Reflection was disrespectful first. However, I'm afraid that today's incident will not be over so easily. The Sacred Ground of Reflection will not let this matter go. Xue Fu rubbed his chin and said. Yi Qingtang humiliated the Sacred Ground of Reflection, and given the Sacred Ground of Reflection's personality, how could it endure this embarrassment? However, if they discussed with the Sacred Ground of Reflection ambassadors courteously today, the Temple of Shadows would probably be embarrassed instead. Did those small fries have the qualifications to question their Holy Lord? They can come if they dare. Yi Qingtang scoffed as though she never regarded the Sacred Ground of Reflection with importance. If they really came, she would flee. Furthermore, the Sacred Ground of Reflection might not be able to defeat the Temple of Shadows, as the 8 tribe leaders were still keeping watch after all. Yi Qingtang was not too favorable of the Sacred Ground of Reflection. Moreover, the matter that the Sacred Ground of Reflection mentioned concerned Ling Yan, and no one knew what would happen if they continued haggling about that matter. But given the Holy Lord of Shadows' personality, she would chase them away immediately. Ming Wang and the rest did not know what Yi Qingtang was thinking of, but her tone was extremely forceful and stern, like the Holy Lord of Shadows in her peak back then. That's right. How would the Holy Lord of Shadows, who was once at the pinnacle of power, fear any forces? Fight if you want to. Ming Wang's eyes flickered, and an indiscreet smile emerged in his eyes. The sacred ground of reflection and Temple of Shadows were completely unrelated. Even when the Holy Lord of Shadows was present, they did not have any connections, and there had never been any conflicts. After all, no one dared to offend the Holy Lord of Shadows back then. Yet, this first time happened when Yi Qingtang was pretending to be the Holy Lord of Shadows. Chapter 1399 The 8 Tribe Leaders. When the 8 tribe leaders of the Undead Clan quickly learned about the incident between the Temple of Shadows and Sacred Ground of Reflection, and they headed to the Temple of Shadows almost immediately. Ming Wang, don't you owe us an explanation? The Goblin tribe leader frowned slightly as he looked at Ming Wang. The tribe leaders had been suspicious of Yi Qingtang's appearance, but they agreed on having Ming Wang test Yi Qingtang. However, they did not expect an accident to happen so soon. We and the Sacred Ground of Reflection had never provoked each other, but this relationship is now messed up over an insignificant eternal dynasty. Ming Wang, what exactly are you thinking? You can't believe that she's the real Holy Lord, can you? Another tribe leader looked at Ming Wang and said indifferently, the Temple of Shadows was not afraid of the Sacred Ground of Reflection, but it just did not seem worth it. The two forces had always coexisted peacefully, but they got into a conflict soon after the Holy Lord returned. Moreover, from what they heard, it was the Holy Lord who chased the Sacred Ground of Reflection ambassadors out, which was a blatant disrespect to the Sacred Ground of Reflection. All the tribe leaders' eyes were fixed on Ming Wang currently. Over this period of time, only Ming Wang had been beside Yi Qingtang, and thus his observation of Yi Qingtang was the most detailed. This was also the reason why they were willing to let Ming Wang test Yi Qingtang. Ming Wang remained expressionless as he said coldly, "She is Ah Yao. What evidence do you have?" The Goblin tribe leader snickered. The Holy Lord has not returned for a long time, and her sudden return itself is suspicious. Many of the things that she did previously were different from before. I'm afraid it's inappropriate to make such a conclusive judgment. Ming Wang's eyes turned cold instantly. The Holy Lord just stepped out from the illusory void a few days ago. The tribe leaders had a complicated expression upon hearing that. The illusory void was a mystic realm that the Holy Lord of Shadows sealed personally, and no one could enter it apart from the Holy Lord. They tried to enter it previously, but it was futile. Today is the last time I am meeting you all here. If you all come to the Temple of Shadows in the future, it is a must to report to the Holy Lord in advance. Ming Wang turned and left after leaving the sentence. The tribe leaders' eyes were filled with malice as they watched Ming Wang leave decisively. He's just a holy son. Does he really think he is that great? Had the Holy Lord not protected him and Minggu back then, mutant undeads like them would have been completely extinct in the second domain. The demon tribe leader scoffed as he looked at the door that Ming Wang shut. If that was not the case, why else would Ming Wang and Minggu be so loyal to the Holy Lord? However, looking at Ming Wang's attitude, he probably believes her identity. The Goblin tribe leader rubbed his chin. A tall man who was coated in flames squinted his eyes. He was the tribe leader of the Netherfire tribe. The Netherfire tribe members were covered in blame flames and appeared very similar to the Fire tribe, but the black flames of the Netherfire tribe represented death and had an extremely strong devouring nature. When the Holy Lord returned previously, you all were the ones who came first. Did you all notice anything? The Netherfire tribe leader asked. That day, the Goblin tribe leader and Demon tribe leader returned to the Temple of Shadows with Ming Wang first and met Yi Qingtang the earliest. Meanwhile, other tribe leaders, including the Netherfire tribe leader, only received the news afterward. Chapter 1400 The 8 Tribe Leaders 2 Nothing special. It was just that some details were different from what we remember. Furthermore, the Holy Lord's return is too sudden, and I keep feeling that there's something off. The Goblin tribe leader was a sharp person, and he had been suspicious since his first meeting with Yi Qingtang. However, what Ming Wang said is logical as well. That illusory void, another tribe leader said thoughtfully. The Netherfire tribe leader waved a hand, however. It is not impossible to enter the illusory void. The Holy Lord used her immortal and Buddha bloodline to seal that illusory void previously, and the reason why we are unable to enter it may very likely be because we do not have that bloodline. If that impostor possesses the immortal and Buddha bloodline, perhaps she can enter. The other tribe leaders agreed with what the Netherfire tribe leader said. After all, they were very doubtful of this Holy Lord who returned. Moreover, the explanation of the immortal and Buddha bloodline made sense, and no one could be certain of anything. Why did Ming Wang not think of this reason? A tribe leader asked. The Netherfire tribe leader chuckled. Those who are closely involved often cannot see the situation clearly. Ming Wang values the Holy Lord much more than everyone else. Although he is cautious, it may be unavoidable that he'll be swayed by emotions. What should we do then? Ming Wang could not be relied on now as he seemed to believe Yi Qingting fully. While they were not fully certain that the current Holy Lord was an impostor, if there was a 50% chance that she was the real Holy Lord of Shadows, the consequences would be dire if they offended her directly. They were all aware of how powerful the Holy Lord of Shadows who dominated the entire mainland back then was. The Netherfire tribe leader did not speak any further. Since they had come to the Temple of Shadows, it was logical for them to greet the Holy Lord. In addition, they had an important matter to report to the Holy Lord. However, before that, they still needed to make a further judgment. Once all the tribe leaders left the underground palace, the Netherfire tribe leader slowed his footsteps intentionally, and a Netherfire tribe guard who had been waiting outside walked over on his tribe leader's signal. When you meet the Holy Lord later, the Netherfire tribe leader whispered to the guard, and the guard nodded. This subtle action did not escape the eyes of the other tribe leaders, but they understood the situation the moment they saw the guard beside the Netherfire tribe leader. In the main palace of the Temple of Shadows, Yi Qingting was seated in the black bone throne as she looked at the 8 tribe leaders of the undead clan before her. There were millions of species in the undead clan, and the number of species which followed the Holy Lord of Shadows was aplenty. However, apart from the skeleton tribe, there were 8 tribes that were the most powerful. Thus, the rulers of these tribes in the central mainland were collectively known as the 8 tribe leaders. Yi Qingting met the Goblin tribe leader and Demon tribe leader when she first came to the Temple of Shadows, and this was the first time that all 8 tribe leaders were present. She had heard about the 8 tribe leaders in her previous life, and she could not help but discreetly scan them one by one now that she saw them. The power and influence of the 8 tribe leaders were just second to the Holy Lord of Shadows in the undead clan, and even Ming Wang and Minggu could not be compared to them. Each tribe leader led a large army of tribe members, and their ferociousness demanded respect. When Yi Qingting's eyes passed over a body covered in black flames, her heart skipped a beat. The Netherfire tribe. Chapter 14:01 The 8 tribe leaders. 3. The Netherfire tribe had the strongest support in the undead clan, and the Netherfire tribe leader was the most formidable out of all the 8 tribe leaders. During the Temple of Shadows peak, the Netherfire tribe once brought endless fear to this mainland as well. The flames of the Fire tribe could burn plants, but the flames of the Netherfire tribe could burn souls. Greetings, Holy Lord. The 8 tribe leaders bowed respectfully. Yi Qingting nodded lightly. Looking at the 8 tribe leaders who could casually kill her with a finger, she could only put on a haughty and indifferent expression despite the despair on the inside. Ming Wang believed her, but these 8 tribe leaders would not believe her so easily. After all, the person who they willingly submitted to was the Holy Lord of Shadows that possessed supreme power. The undead clan only submitted to powerful figures. Please pardon us for our late visit since your return, Holy Lord, the Netherfire tribe leader said respectfully, with no visible hints of superficiality. Yet, Yi Qingting all the more did not dare to put her guard down. It's fine. She spoke indifferently in an aloof manner. It has been several thousand years since you left, but you are still as elegant as before, Holy Lord, said the Netherfire tribe leader with a smile. As his lips tugged up, the black flames on his face, which were accompanied by a strong aura of death, swayed wildly as well. How freaking scary. Yi Qingtang maintained a relaxed smile on her face as she looked at that nether fire that could burn all souls. Holy Lord! A guard behind the Nether Fire tribe leader suddenly stepped forward and kneeled before Yi Qingtang. That guard also belonged to the Nether Fire tribe. The black flames around his body formed a human-shaped blaze, and no flesh was visible. Yi Qingtang was immediately on the alert when the Nether Fire tribe guard suddenly came forward. "Do you still remember me, Holy Lord?" The guard looked up, and his reverence was faintly visible beneath the flames.
"Hell knows who you are."
Nervousness filled Yi Qingtang, but she could only put on an indifferent expression. "You once taught me before you left back then. Over these few years, I did not dare to slack off and have always kept your guidance in mind. I was excited to learn of your return. Thus, I requested my tribe leader to bring me along to show you my improvement," the Nether Fire tribe guard said respectfully. An unnoticeable smile flashed across the Nether Fire tribe leader's eyes. Yi Qingtang knew that there was trouble. "Holy Lord, please give me a chance to assess if I had been cultivating as you said," that guard said in a subservient tone and directly kowtowed to Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang wanted to weep now. She knew that the 8 tribe leaders definitely would not believe her identity so easily. This guard was probably arranged by that Nether Fire tribe leader to test her. How would she know how the Holy Lord of Shadows guided this guard? "If you really kept my words in mind, why would you only be at this cultivation base now?" Yi Qingtang chuckled lightly and looked up with a tinge of annoyance. Yi Qingtang did not know what his original martial realm was, but his current skills were probably at the early stage of a heavenly venerate. Although his skills were much higher than Yi Qingtang's, there was no difference to the Holy Lord of Shadows. How could the Supreme Holy Lord tell the minuscule difference between the upper and lower stages of a heavenly venerate? Chapter 14. Oh, to fuck you one, the Holy Lord is right. I am incompetent. However, when the Holy Lord taught me the Nether Sea and Flaming Sky move, there were many areas that I did not understand. I hope the Holy Lord can give me a few pointers. The guard was very subservient, but he had shifted the conversational topic such that it was difficult to turn him down. "Do you think him very free?" Yi Qingtang laughed coldly. She looked up and glanced at the Nether Fire tribe leader with a look of displeasure. The Nether Fire tribe leader immediately scowled and reprimanded the guard. "Don't be rude to the Holy Lord." "Tribe leader," the guard wanted to say something, but the tribe leader waved his huge hand. "Get lost. Don't embarrass us in front of the Holy Lord." The guard gritted his teeth and rose silently. But the moment he got up, a bright light suddenly exploded from his eyes. The same moment he rose, the black fire that surrounded him suddenly grew tenfold. His entire body was instantly transformed into a huge fireball that sprang towards Yi Qingtang, who was sitting on the black bone throne. "What the hell is this move?" Yi Qingtang was shocked when she saw the approaching ball of black flames. She thought that the guard was at most at the early stage of the heavenly venerate realm. However, the instant he transformed into black flames, the aura around that fireball suddenly grew several times. It surged to around the 8th heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. "Holy Lord, I've put a lot of effort into my cultivation for several thousand years. Why do you refuse to see my Nether Sea and Flaming Sky move?" A rather discontented voice emerged from the fireball. Yi Qingtang was so shocked that her scalp crawled. She had been wondering what kind of move the Nether Sea and Flaming Sky was, but had not expected it to be a major killing move that would allow the power of an undead to grow by 3-fold. At that moment, Ming Wang, Minggu, Xuefu, and Lady Ghost were all absent. Besides the 8 tribe leaders, only a few elders of the skeleton tribe were in the hall, and their powers were around the 8th or 9th heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. They were momentarily stunned when they suddenly saw such a serious killing move. After all, no one had expected the guard of the Nether Fire tribe to suddenly attack the Holy Lord of Shadows. Amidst the chaos, the 8 tribe leaders watched everything coldly. Yi Qingtang could not even vomit blood. It had not been easy for her to spend 5 days in the illusory void, and her powers had grown swiftly to reach arcane supremacy 8th heaven. But now, the moment she was out, she encountered a heavenly Venerate 8th Heaven killing move. This killing move straddled an entire realm. It looked as though the black fireball was about to engulf the entire hall as it whooshed towards Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang's back was soaked with cold sweat. From the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of the 8 tribe leaders, who were standing there motionlessly. She understood. This was their way of testing her.
Fight.
Yi Qingtang's brain moved at top speed. She suddenly recalled something. The instant before the black fireball rushed into her face, a faint golden halo suddenly floated around her body. Yi Qingtang sat motionlessly on her black bone throne, but the golden halo around her seemed to instantly transform into a golden dragon that rushed towards the black fireball. A dragon's roar instantly filled the entire hall. The next moment, the black fireball collided with the golden dragon. When the two forces collided, the dragon's form suddenly disappeared and sank into the black flames. Chapter 14:03 Fuck you too. The sparks of golden light looked like golden tongues of flame that devoured the black flames. Wails suddenly rang out from the black flames. As more and more black flames were engulfed by the golden light, the Nether Fire Tribe guard's figure suddenly fell from midair and crashed onto the ground. There was a huge bang. The guard who had attacked Yi Qingtang so ferociously was now lying on the ground in a pathetic state. His entire body was enshrouded in a halo that glittered with golden light. The halo seemed to be swallowing his flames bit by bit. The Nether Fire Tribe leader looked at the guard who had collapsed to the ground before him, and a look of shock flashed across his eyes. When he saw the golden halo that surrounded the guard's body, an instinctive sense of aversion arose in his heart. Yi Qingtang was seated on the black bone throne. Her face was chilly. Her eyes had a trace of murderous intent as she swept a look at the 8 tribe leaders who were still standing at the same spot. The 8 tribe leaders were shocked to see that not only had Yi Qingtang managed to counteract the guard's Nether Sea and Flaming Sky move without lifting a finger, but she had even severely injured the guard. The icy figure standing before them suddenly merged with the lofty figure in their memories. Please, Holy Lord, have mercy. The Nether Fire Tribe leader was the first to recover his wits. He hurriedly kneeled and begged for mercy. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes maliciously as she looked at the Nether Fire Tribe leader, who was kneeling before her. Her hands resting on the arms of the throne were shaking slightly, but she hid them in her sleeves so that no one would notice.
Fuck you.
Yi Qingtang was so angry that she wanted to use the little white tiger's pet phrase. This Nether Fire Tribe leader had definitely done this deliberately in order to test her identity. If her powers had not been sufficiently great, she would have been unable to withstand the killing move just now. Yi Qingtang had thought that she was finished. If she had not suddenly recalled a particular move recorded in the immortal method of cultivation in the 1-star constellation that was used to counteract demonic powers, she would be dead by now. In the immortal cultivation methods, the golden dragon descending from heaven move was the last resort for a cultivator who needed to suppress demonic forces to preserve his own life. The cultivator had to exhaust all his strength before he could use this move. And this could only be used to counteract moves that were at most 1 realm apart. Once past the limit, the cultivator would definitely die. Furthermore, this move was only effective against evil beings. Fortunately, everyone in the Temple of Shadows was from the Undead clan, and the guard had used the extremely evil Nether Seas and Flaming Sky move. Otherwise, Yi Qingtang would have died even if she had used her move. Yi Qingtang now wished she could tie up the 8 tribe leaders and give them a severe beating. Of course, that was presuming she could beat them. If she had not happened to discover the immortal method of cultivation in the 1-star constellation and cultivated there for a long time, she would probably be dead by now. But that move had spent all the immortal aura that Yi Qingtang had taken so long to cultivate. Further, she had only cultivated this immortal aura for a limited time, and so all the spirit energy in her body was exhausted as well, with just one move. If her opponent had not been engulfed by the immortal aura, all he had to do was come up and punch her, and she would die. Yi Qingtang was both angry and frightened, but she maintained a look of chilly displeasure. The 8 tribe leaders did not know what Yi Qingtang was thinking, but when they saw how displeased she was, they all kneeled and asked for forgiveness. The Netherfire tribe leader was the most frightened. The golden light on the guard's body had made him feel uncomfortable, as if it had some kind of naturally oppressive force. One must understand that if even the extremely powerful Netherfire tribe leader felt uncomfortable, it must have been much more frightening for the others in the Netherfire tribe. Chapter 1404 Fuck You 3 The 8 tribe leaders knew that the Holy Lord of Shadows was very powerful, but although they had followed her for many years, they did not know the depths of her powers. Today, they had been shocked by the appearance of the Golden Dragon. The Holy Lord of Shadows was also an undead, but she even had the power to check part of the undead clan. The Netherfire tribe leader's eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at the guard that had collapsed on the ground. The latter was mutilated beyond recognition by the continual devouring of the golden light. Suddenly, a huge black flame shot out from the tribe leader's palm and tore the guard into pieces. Holy Lord, please do not be angry. I did not anticipate Hu Lun's actions today. I only agreed to bring him here on account of his longing for the Holy Lord for the past thousands of years. I did not expect him to have evil intentions. It is my fault that the Holy Lord is displeased. The Netherfire tribe leader looked ashamed. Someone who did not know better might think he was innocent. But Yi Qingtang was not stupid. Netherfire tribe leader, is this the extent of your abilities? You cannot even control a guard. I'm afraid your days of being a tribe leader are at an end, Yi Qingtang said with a cold laugh. She clenched her fists and forced herself to bear with the exhaustion of spending all her strength. Please, Holy Lord, forgive me, said the Netherfire tribe leader. The commotion in the Great Hall had attracted Ming Wang and the others. The moment Ming Wang stepped into the Great Hall and saw the Netherfire tribe leader kneeling on the ground, pleading for mercy, then the Netherfire tribe guard that had been torn to pieces, and the Netherfire on the ground that was slowly going out, a murderous intent flashed across his eyes. The Netherfire tribe had dared to attack Ah Yao. Please, Holy Lord, don't be angry. The Netherfire tribe leader has been too lax and is indeed at fault. The Holy Lord may punish him, but we do have something important to report to the Holy Lord, which is why we are here today. The other tribe leaders saw that the test had failed and trotted out the lines they had prepared earlier. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes slightly, with a malicious expression on her face. The gaze of all the tribe leaders was cautiously fixed on her. If Yi Qingtang was really the Holy Lord of Shadows, she would kill the Netherfire tribe leader with a slap. Too bad, she was not, and did not have the Holy Lord of Shadows ability. At the moment, she did not have the power to kill the Netherfire tribe leader. Speak, Yi Qingtang said coldly. She seemed to deliberately ignore the Netherfire tribe leader's pleas for mercy and let him continue kneeling there without a chance to get up. It's like this, when we came with the Holy Lord from the second domain to Central Mainland, which is in the first domain, our Temple of Shadows was part of the Crimson League. But after the Holy Lord vanished, the Crimson League ejected the Temple of Shadows from the League. A few days ago, when we heard that the Holy Lord had returned, we especially sought news from the Crimson League. We wonder if the Holy Lord can bring us back into the Crimson League. The Goblin tribe leader spoke respectfully. He kept glancing at the Netherfire tribe leader, who was kneeling on the ground. Crimson League. When Yi Qingtang heard these two words, her brain started to buzz. The second domain had many large clans, so many that it exceeded that in Central Mainland by several hundred times. These powerful clans formed leagues and morphed into huge entities in order to defend themselves against each other. Their ferocity was such that no power in the first domain could compare to them. The Crimson League was one of these huge entities and was formed from a powerful alliance between the Undead clan and many other clans. Yi Qingtang had been to the second domain in her previous life, so she had naturally heard of the Crimson League. Who would have thought the Temple of Shadows was part of the Crimson League? Chapter 1405 Leaving 1. Since, when has it been up to you to dictate my actions? Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes, and a layer of frostiness surfaced on her face. The goblin tribe leader was startled and said hurriedly, "I would not dare to be so presumptuous." Yi Qingtang grunted coldly and said, "I have my own plans." Of course, a film of cold sweat had surfaced on the goblin tribe leader's forehead. The Crimson League was so large that no force in central mainland could compare to it. It was a league that belonged to the second domain. The Crimson League was so selective that in the entire Temple of Shadows, only the Holy Lord of Shadows was worthy of its notice. So after the Holy Lord of Shadows vanished, the Crimson League simply kicked the Temple of Shadows out of the league. The 8 tribe leaders wanted to return to the league, but they knew they did not have the ability to move the league if Yi Qingtang did not act. Yi Qingtang could guess what the 8 tribe leaders were thinking. Of course, it would be good if the Temple of Shadows could return to the Crimson League. But the Crimson League was filled with powerful figures from the second domain. Yi Qingtang might have been able to deceive these people from the Temple of Shadows, but she did not have the nerve to interact directly with the Crimson League. She would not dare to risk this until her powers reached a certain level. Although there was always an element of risk, the potential returns were huge. Yi Qingtang remained in the Temple of Shadows, intending to use it as a tool to oppose the ancient Yu clan. If the Temple of Shadows could return to the Crimson League, then the chances of beating the ancient Yu clan and rescuing little Yu Yun were much greater. Yi Qingtang intended to do so, but not now. The 8 tribe leaders had been shocked by Yi Qingtang's move. Although they appeared to be convinced, Yi Qingtang knew perfectly well that these tribe leaders harbored evil schemes that could not be dealt with so easily. Yi Qingtang sent them away while they were still in shock. She was forcing herself to maintain a strong front, but she would be exposed before long. The 8 tribe leaders did not dare to go against Yi Qingtang's wishes, so they left. Yi Qingtang returned to her room and collapsed on the bed. Her robes were soaked in sweat. "I can't remain in the Temple of Shadows. I have to find a way to get out." Yi Qingtang suddenly sat up. The suspicions of the 8 tribe leaders had made Yi Qingtang even more aware of how dangerous her circumstances were. She had been lucky this time, but she did not know if she would be as lucky next time. Although she could cultivate in the Temple of Shadows, she could only do so secretly. She was doomed if the undead clan discovered her true abilities. Also, she realized that although she could still use the immortal method of cultivation after returning, it seemed there was too much death aura in the Temple of Shadows, and she was unable to obtain sufficient natural spirit energy, so her speed of cultivation had slowed down greatly. Enter the illusory void again? Yi Qingtang felt that she needed to proceed slowly. Although the illusory void was a sacred ground of cultivation, that cheating god of nature might still harm her at any time. Yi Qingtang wanted to stabilize her cultivation base and raise her level of immortal cultivation before she entered the illusory void again. She needed to quickly improve, but more haste meant less speed. If any accident happened to her, there would be no hope for the first mainland. Yi Qingtang's mind quickly thought over this. Early the next morning, she put on a new set of robes and walked out of the Temple of Shadows. "Yeah, where are you going?" Minggu was anxious when he saw that Yi Qingtang was suddenly prepared to leave. 1406 Leaving 2000s of years of fear rushed into his heart. This was exactly what had happened thousands of years ago. Yao had left, never to return. Yao, don't go. Minggu suddenly rushed forward and clung to Yi Qingtang's leg. His expression was pitiful, aggrieved, and wistful. If not for the fact that the undead did not cry, he would probably be weeping. When Mingwang saw this, he could not help but frown. His lips moved as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he just looked on silently. However, his dark black eyes looked like bottomless pits. Yi Qingtang looked at Minggu, who was clinging on to her, and could not help but laugh and pinch his little cheeks. "Minggu, be good. I have some things I need to attend to. I'll be back in a while." The illusory void in the Temple of Shadows was so good. How could she bear to leave it behind? Also, she had yet to use the Temple of Shadows. "You're bluffing." That's what you said last time, but you were gone for thousands of years before you returned. I don't believe you. I don't want you to go. Ayao, please don't go. Minggu was whining and clinging for dear life to Yi Qingtang's leg. He wished he could stick himself to her. He was really afraid. Afraid that Ayao would leave for thousands of years again, just like last time. Yi Qingtang fell silent. Although her heart ached for little Minggu, there were things she needed to accomplish. If she continued to stay in the Temple of Shadows, she would be unable to concentrate on cultivation. Although the illusory void allowed her to swiftly raise her cultivation base, if she wanted to stabilize her base after reaching a certain level, she needed to cultivate properly. Otherwise, she would have achieved the cultivation base in vain, as she would be unable to control that kind of power. Yi Qingtang's heart ached, but she had no choice. Just as she was hesitating and thinking about how best to detach Minggu, Ming Wang, who was standing nearby, suddenly reached out and forcibly pried Minggu away from Yi Qingtang's leg. Elder brother, Ming Wang looked piteously at Ming Wang. Shut up, you stupid creature. Ming Wang was completely expressionless. After he shouted coldly at Minggu, he raised his eyes and gazed deeply at Yi Qingtang. He did not say anything else, but dragged Minggu, crying and screaming back to the temple. As long as she returned, so what if they waited thousands or even 10,000 years? Yi Qingtang looked at Ming Wang's disappearing figure. For some reason, she felt rather bitter. Ming Wang was even more reluctant than Minggu to see the Holy Lord of Shadows leave. At first, Yi Qingtang was unable to leave the Temple of Shadows because of Ming Wang's suspicions. But now, she could leave because of Ming Wang's trust. Yi Qingtang suppressed her feelings and patted the little white tiger who was in her arms. She took a deep breath as she looked at the clear blue sky. Where do you want to go now? The little white tiger knew that Yi Qingtang wanted to find a good spot to cultivate. Yi Qingtang said, Central Dynasty. She wanted to take a look at the Forgotten River Cliff. The tablet that her mother had left on the first mainland had mentioned the Forgotten River Cliff. Perhaps she might be able to find some clues there. Of course, cultivation was the most important. Yi Qingtang took the little white tiger and left the Temple of Shadows. Within the Temple of Shadows, Ming Wang was standing at the window, watching Yi Qingtang's slowly disappearing figure. His eyes were dark. In the room behind him, Minggu continued to beat on the doors and shout, Elder brother, let me out. Why can't I follow Ayao? Please, I beg you. Ming Wang seemed to not be able to hear him. He only continued to look at the empty road. You will come back, won't you? Chapter 1407. Leaving 3. Yi Qingtang let out a deep breath after they left the Temple of Shadows. She had been exercising extreme caution all this while, as if walking on eggshells. Now that she had emerged, the word she thought of was freedom. Look at you. If the Temple of Shadows could see you, they would kill you immediately. The little white tiger looked at the relaxed Yi Qingtang and shook its whiskers. Yi Qingtang rolled her eyes at the little white tiger. She could not be bothered to quibble with it, so she just picked it up and with a flying leap, ascended into the clouds and flew towards the Central Dynasty. The Central Dynasty was one of the major dynasties in Central Mainland. It was the first dynasty to be established in Central Mainland, and its territory was the largest. Yi Qingtang journeyed in stops and starts. When she rested, she used most of her time to cultivate, and she rapidly regained the strength she had used up. When she regained her strength, Yi Qingtang sensed that something was different. When she was in the illusory void, her ability had increased extremely quickly. But this speed had exceeded the time she had to practice controlling it. Now, after it was all depleted and she began to cultivate to regain it, her power had grown even purer. This increase in purity seemed to be caused by some strange influence exerted by the immortal method of cultivation. Just as Yi Qingtang was about to reach the Central Dynasty, the voice transmission stone that had lain silent for a long time suddenly buzzed. Miss Yi? Ling Yan's smiling voice rang out from the voice transmission stone. Yi Qingtang had a peculiar feeling when she heard this voice. She had not contacted Ling Yan earlier, Firstly, because she had been busy and it was inconvenient, and secondly, because she knew it would take a long time to rebuild the Eternal Dynasty after it was flooded by the ancient Yu clan. Hence, Ling Yan, as the new emperor, would be very busy. What's going on? You're free today? Have you finished cleaning up the wreck that is the Eternal Dynasty? Yi Qingtang teased. Is Missy questioning my abilities? Ling Yan replied with a question. She really wanted to beat him to death. Yi Qingtang's mouth twitched. Is anything the matter? If not, I need to hurry on with my journey, Yi Qingtang said. Missy should have reached the Central Dynasty by now. Ling Yan seemed to be asking a question, but his tone was certain. How did he know she was in the Central Dynasty? Yi Qingtang was slightly taken aback. Before Yi Qingtang could recover her wits, Ling Yan said, if Missy is near Burnt City, why not take a look? In a few days' time, an auction will be taking place in Burnt City. Missy might profit greatly if she attends. Yi Qingtang was silent. Since he put it like that, how could she not go? However, why did she always feel that Ling Yan was manipulating her? Surely you are not planning something for me at Burnt City. Ling Yan laughed softly. Miss Yi, your words are hurtful. Everything I do is done with complete consideration of Miss Yi. If Miss Yi is unhappy, it will be all my fault. Stop. Yi Qingtang hurriedly interrupted Ling Yan. I'm quite near to Burnt City. I'll go there now. If she let him continue talking, who knows what other nonsense he would spout. What kind of emperor was so glib? Pack up your incredible abilities. Good girl. Ling Yan's voice held a hint of indolence. He dragged out the syllable slightly, and they felt like goose feathers tickling her heart. Yi Qingtang immediately switched off the voice transmission stone. You're the one that's good. Your entire dynasty is good. Chapter 14:08 Burnt City 1 The little azure dragon was speechless at the sight of Ling Yan, who grinned at the voice transmission stone that had been switched off by force. Ling Yan, the surrounding kingdoms have begun to stir, yet you still have the mood to smile foolishly here? Ling Yan kept the voice transmission stone properly and smiled. I'm in a good mood. Let me play with them then. Freaking play with them. Fin City was situated in the Central Dynasty, but it was an independent city. Thousands of years ago, when powerful figures appeared in the second domain, Fin City was the first to be destroyed, and the entire city turned into a sea of fire after one move by a powerful figure from the second domain. The fire in the city blazed for 7 days straight, and even tiles completely turned into ashes, much less any living beings. Although Burnt City was rebuilt over the past years, the burnt land no longer had any vitality and remained charred. Thus, the city's original name was forgotten, and people referred to it as Burnt City now. Compared to other cities, there were extremely few rules in Burnt City, and it could be said to be a land abandoned by the Central Dynasty. Any ploys and behaviors were allowed in Burnt City, as long as one was skilled enough. Yi Qingtang had heard of Burnt City in her previous life, but had not been there before. After flying for over a day, she finally arrived. There was no other color apart from black in that massive city. The land, city walls, and pavilions were pitch black, and the ground exuded a burnt smell that could be detected even before entering the city. Although the endless fire that blazed for 7 whole days had been put out for thousands of years, its trace on this piece of land was never erased. There were no guards at the main entrance of Burnt City. Yi Qingtang entered swiftly, with a little white tiger. There were few streets in Burnt City, and different species of the alien clan were everywhere. From the winged people to the ox-head people, there was a plethora of species here, as though this place was the territory of the alien clan. Usually, when members of the alien clan entered an important city of the kingdom, there would be a long examination if there were no records of the person. However, such a rule was absent in Burnt City. Moreover, the alien clan was forbidden from selling goods in many cities, but anyone could sell any items in Burnt City. Even if it was the slave of another clan, it was not considered illegal. Make way. A deep voice suddenly sounded above Yi Qingtang's head. She looked up only to see a giant walking on the street in a crouched stance. With every step he took, he had to remind the tiny beings from other clans beneath him to move away. A seemingly intoxicated winged man flew in circles in the sky and knocked into the giant's head, almost crashing to the ground. Fortunately, that giant was rather kind and caught the winged man. Otherwise, there would be a splatter of flesh before Yi Qingtang. As Yi Qingtang observed the view within Burnt City, she realized that there was a unique freedom in the chaos. "May I ask where the auction house is?" Yi Qingtang bent down and asked a minion who was only at her calf. The furry minion was seated in front of his stall that sold some medicines and alcohol. Upon hearing Yi Qingtang's question, he pointed in a direction without looking up. It was a tall building that was several feet tall, one that was especially eye-catching in Burnt City. Chapter 1409 Burnt City 2 Yi Qingtang walked to that nameless auction house, which was merely a coal-black building with the auction timing labeled at the entrance. Many aliens and humans had already entered one after another. Yi Qingtang entered with the little white tiger. The interior of the entire auction house was extremely spacious and divided into several areas. Sitting down at a spot in the corner, Yi Qingtang wondered what good items were there in this auction since Ling Yan specially told her to come here. Time ticked by, and customers entered successively. In no time, the wide venue was quickly filled. However, the majority of people sat in the central area, and there were not many people in the corners such as the one that Yi Qingtang sat at. As Yi Qingtang was figuring out the items being auctioned, a black shadow suddenly loomed over her. She turned around instinctively only to see a furry wall. "Little brother, there's no one here, right?" A strong voice suddenly sounded above her head. The moment Yi Qingtang heard that voice, she was completely stunned as though she was struck by lightning, and thus she completely did not notice that the person called her little brother. This voice was too familiar. Before Yi Qingtang replied, that furry wall had already settled into the seat beside Yi Qingtang. His appearance was clearly visible only when he sat down. He was a huge ape standing at over 10 meters and was covered in a layer of glistening fur. Fortunately, this auction house was large enough. Otherwise, he would be unable to squeeze in here with his height. Yet even so, he still had to retract his neck, which made him appear a little squeezed. Sworn, Yi Qingtang looked at the great ape beside her in disbelief as emotions stirred up within her. The huge ape beside her was not anyone else but Beidou Demon Lord, who died in order to save her. Even though she was reborn, Yi Qingtang would never forget the scene where Beidou Demon Lord died right in front of her. He could have stayed out of it and continued to live on, but he forsook his life for her. Memories from her past life flashed by in Yi Qingtang's mind. She was overwhelmed with emotions as she looked at the Beidou Demon Lord before her, who was evidently still in his youth. "MHM?
Oh, sorry.
You're not a little brother, but a little lady.
I'm sorry.
You're too tiny, and I didn't see clearly just now." The great ape apologized with a smile as he looked at the dazed Yi Qingtang. Members of the great ape clan were shockingly tall and were even taller than giants. Beidou Demon Lord was currently in the youth stage, and thus was only over 10 meters tall. However, a few years from now, his height would increase rapidly until he reached hundreds of meters tall. Even if he was in the youth stage, his height was already extremely astonishing. Currently, Beidou Demon Lord was not yet famous and had not obtained the title of Beidou Demon Lord. Yi Qingtang came to the central mainland earlier than in her previous lifetime, and Beidou Demon Lord was much younger than that time. Yi Qingtang returned from her senses. She almost said "sworn brother" out just now. Yi Qingtang forced herself to calm down and smiled at Beidou Demon Lord. "It's fine." Seeing that this young human girl did not seem to fear him, Beidou Demon Lord could not help but have a favorable impression of her. It should be known that to the great apes, teenage girls of the human clan were extremely weak, and Beidou Demon Lord had already scared off many young ladies with his fierce appearance and huge body. Chapter 1410 Burnt City 3 This young lady looked weak, but unexpectedly, she was rather bold. As he thought, How scary could his appearance be? Beta Demon Lord's huge frame was extremely eye-catching in the auction house. Luckily, he was seated at the corner. If he was seated in the center, he would probably be sworn at by the people behind him. The guests and customers in the venue increased gradually, and almost the entire venue was filled. There was only some small space near Yi Qingtang and Beta Demon Lord, perhaps because of Beta Demon Lord's size. Beta Demon Lord did not sense anything though. Seeing that there was still some time, he took a banana out from somewhere in his fur. "Do you eat this?" Beta Demon Lord took a banana and asked Yi Qingtang politely. "Is this a frozen banana?" Yi Qingtang asked with a smile as she looked at the purple-skinned banana in Beta Demon Lord's hand. Frozen bananas were bananas grown in snowy areas, and they were the Beta Demon Lord's favorite. "You know your stuff, young lady." Beta Demon Lord was slightly taken aback as he did not expect a young human girl to recognize a frozen banana. Many humans did not recognize this item, and most of those who saw the frozen banana for the first time believed that it was spoiled. Yi Qingtang smiled. How could she forget Beta Demon Lord's favorite? Here. I just brought this frozen banana back from the mountains, and it's very fresh. I even fought with Yetis over these frozen bananas." Beta Demon Lord was in a good mood as it was rare for him to meet a friend who understood him. He gave Yi Qingtang a huge bunch of bananas and then picked out another bunch, which he tossed into his mouth without even removing the skin. Looking at the huge bunch of frozen bananas in his arms, Yi Qingtang did not know whether to laugh or cry while the little white tiger tugged its lips in despise. "Ape brother, are you here for any specific treasures?" Yi Qingtang started a conversation with Beta Demon Lord while eating the frozen banana. Beta Demon Lord was outspoken and straightforward. If it was her other sworn brothers, she would not dare to get so close so abruptly. "I heard that the bone of the dragon breath will be in this auction, so I'm here to try my luck." Beta Demon Lord was still young. Thus, he did not really exercise much caution against the outside world. However, in a few more years, Beta Demon Lord would be much shrewder than anyone else. Bone of the dragon breath. Yi Qingtang was slightly dumbfounded when she heard it. In her previous life, she heard Beta Demon Lord mention the bone of the dragon breath before. It was a superior item for cultivation for the apes that could increase their skills greatly. However, it was extremely rare, and there were barely any pieces even in the central mainland. In her past life, Beta Demon Lord told her that he saw one bone of the dragon breath before but did not have any fate with it, and that it was his regret of a lifetime. After Beta Demon Lord died, Yi Qingtang searched for the bone of the dragon breath for him and only obtained a small piece 100 years later, which she buried in his grave. Could it be the bone of the dragon breath which he said he missed actually appeared in this auction? Bone of the dragon breath? What a coincidence. Sister Yu, that great ape actually has his eyes on the same item as you. A girlish voice could suddenly be heard from afar. Yi Qingtang's line of sight was pretty much blocked by Beta Demon Lord. However, that voice was quite familiar. Thus, she looked toward the direction of that voice through a gap. A pretty girl was smiling at an aloof young lady beside her. When Yi Qingtang saw the faces of those two ladies, her eyes squinted immediately. It's actually them. Yi Sun. Chapter 14:11 Confrontation 1. After Yi Yu was brought away by the Jiang family, Yi Qingtang never saw her again. Yet, unexpectedly, she actually met her here. However, since Yi Qingtang was almost completely blocked by Beta Demon Lord, Yi Yu and Yi Sun did not notice Yi Qingtang's presence. After Yi Yu was brought back by the Jiang family, the life she led in the Jiang family was much more affluent than in the first mainland. The Jiang family was the domain monarch, and it had an advantage whether in cultivation conditions or any other aspects. However, in such a short time apart, Yi Qingtang realized that Yi Yu's skills had already reached arcane supremacy, 9th heaven. The Jiang family's foundation was indeed strong. Yi Qingtang observed Yi Yu and Yi Sun secretly and scoffed coldly. From what Yi Sun said just now, Yi Yu's objective for coming here seemed to be for the bone of the dragon breath as well. So, what if he has his eyes on the same item? In this central mainland, how many people can fight over anything with you, Sister Yu? Yi Sun said smilingly as she spoke of Yi Yu highly. Yi Sun had been following Yi Yu's side ever since she left Lin Town. With her intelligence, she gained Yi Yu's satisfaction and was brought along to the central mainland by Yi Yu. Yi Yu had an aloof and indifferent expression as she lifted her chin slightly, which revealed her arrogance. She once thought that Yunxiao's sect was a massive force, but it could not even hold a finger to the Jiang family of the central mainland. If you obtain this bone of the dragon breath, your attributes will definitely enhance. I heard that the bone of the dragon breath is also effective for improving the spirit root. Yi Sun beamed. Yi Yu narrowed her eyes. Back then, she snatched the spirit root from Yi Qingtang's body, which allowed her to become the direct disciple of Yunxiao's sect master. However, she had a startling discovery after coming to the second domain. The spirit root was no longer as important in the central mainland. The spirit energy in the central mainland was extremely rich, and spirit roots of any grade would receive extremely great benefits from such rich spirit energy. Only people in the backward first mainland cared so much about spirit roots. Despite this, it was still helpful. Yi Yu naturally paid more attention to the bone of the dragon breath after hearing that it could enhance one's attributes and even improve the spirit root. Since she entered the Jiang family, she was naturally unwilling to be ordinary for her entire life. Yi Yu and Yi Sun conversed for a moment, but since they were not too far away, Yi Qingtang heard everything they said. It seems that quite a few people have their eyes on the bone of the dragon breath. Beidou Demon Lord grabbed his head, seeming to be calculating if he brought enough money to win the bone of the dragon breath. Yi Qingtang took a look at the Beidou Demon Lord, and a smile emerged in her eyes. The auction began very quickly. It was the first time Yi Qingtang participated in an auction in the central mainland. The auctioned items were valuable treasures, and any one of them was a treasure that the entire mainland would fight to lay their hands on. Yi Yu auctioned for a few items, and most of them were mainly for nourishing her attributes. Evidently, she was desperate to increase her attributes. Yi Qingtang was extremely calm when she looked at these treasures. Although they were good, they were not very attractive to Yi Qingtang, who just came out of the Temple of Shadows. In the entire central mainland, how many forces could compare their reserves of treasures to the Temple of Shadows? Chapter 14:12 Confrontation 2 Yi Qingtang was calm while Beta Demon Lord had a struggling expression. He heard the two ladies saying that they wanted to auction for the bone of the dragon breath earlier on, and just by looking at their generous spending in this period of time, it was obvious how shockingly large their wealth was. Just as Beta Demon Lord was in a dilemma, the bone of the dragon breath was being presented. It was a white bone that was the length of an adult's arm. Rumors had it that the bone of the dragon breath was left behind by the deceased ancient dragons. The power of the dragons in the ancient times was nothing that the current dragon clan could compare to. The bones that they left behind had been stored underground for many years, and despite the decomposition over the years, it still stored the dragon soul of the ancient dragon clan. This type of dragon soul could incite the powerful potential in the bodies of all clans and was the best item for cultivation. It was a pity that before the ancient dragons died, most of them would find a spot that no one knew about, which was known as the Great Dragon's Graveyard. To date, no one knew where that graveyard was, and the bones of the dragon breath that people could find were mostly left behind by ancient dragons who had an accidental death. Thus, they were extremely rare in quantity. Once the bone of the dragon breath was presented, all bidders were stirred. The bids rose rapidly, and it reached 20 times the starting price in no time. At this instant, Beta Demon Lord and Yi Yu were anxious to bid. When he saw that the bid price finally rose slowly, Beta Demon Lord gritted his teeth and offered a price that was way higher than the current bid price. 30,000 spirit coins. Beta Demon Lord roared loudly. There were two types of currency used in the central mainland. The first type was the ordinary gold coin, which was similar to the first mainland, while the second type was spirit coin. Spirit coins were money that stored compressed spirit energy, and its worth greatly surpassed that of an ordinary gold coin. A spirit coin was approximately worth 10 million gold coins. There were not many competing bidders left after Beta Demon Lord shouted out the bid of 30,000 spirit coins. After all, 30,000 spirit coins was an exorbitant amount even to a big family clan. Beta Demon Lord had a determined look on her face, but unbeknownst to all, he was a little nervous on the inside. He only had 40,000 spirit coins in total on him, and this was all of his family assets. He called such a high bid earlier on to use this chance to raise the bid and suppress all the other bidders. 35,000 spirit coins. A feminine and weak face rang suddenly. The bidder was none other than Yi Sun. Yi Sun immediately grinned at Yi Sun after offering the bid. Yi Yu nodded slightly. Is that someone from the domain Monarch Jiang family? Some people in the auction recognized Yi Yu and Yi Sun, and that their clothes had the embroidery of the Jiang family's unique totem on their chest. Everyone in the central mainland knew about the domain Monarch, and that it was not one that normal people could afford to offend. Furthermore, the Jiang family's wealth was extremely shocking. In the entire central mainland, perhaps only top forces such as the Sacred Ground of Reflection, Ancient Yu Clan, and Temple of Shadows could match up to the Jiang family. Even some large kingdoms may not be its opponent. Some people who still wished to bid halted very sensibly when they saw that someone from the Jiang family increased the bid. Beta Demon Lord frowned slightly and gritted his teeth as he went all in. 40 million spirit coins. Beta Demon Lord clenched his fists secretly while raising the bid. Yi Sun glanced at Beta Demon Lord and immediately bid after him. 50,000 spirit coins. Chapter 14-13 Confrontation 3 Beta Demon Lord's heart sank when he heard that number. He had saved up that 40 million spirit coins over the past few years, and a large portion of it was what his father left behind. This was already his limit. However, the bone of the dragon breath was too important to him. Only by increasing his skills as fast as possible could he rescue his trapped father. Although the Beta Demon Lord felt that it was rather brusque, he could only muster his courage and look at Yi Sun, who raised the bid. This bone of the dragon breath is very important to me. If you are willing to offer it to me, I will remember your kindness forever, and my life will be yours in the future. Yi Sun cast a look at Beta Demon Lord and snickered. What a joke. Why would we need your damn life? This is an auction. If you want the item, use your money to auction for it. If you don't have money, then stop harassing others. The highest bidder wins the item. Don't you know the rules of an auction? Yi Sun only met the alien clans after coming to the central mainland, but she was extremely repelled by them out of instinct. Coupled with the Jiang family status and Yi Yu's influence on her, she had never paid any regard to these alien clans. Beta Demon Lord turned pale from Yi Sun's rebuke, and he hung his head low as the surrounding mockery entered his ears. However, Beta Demon Lord could not be bothered with his reputation right now. The only thing he cared about was to obtain the bone of the dragon breath so that he could become more powerful quickly. He did not have much time left, and he had to rescue his father out as soon as possible. Ridiculous. Why are you at an auction when you have no money? Isn't that right, Sister Yu?
Yi Sun looked at Yi Yu and asked.
Yi Yu tugged her lips indifferently as her eyes swept past Beta Demon Lord with arrogance and belittlement. The current Beta Demon Lord was not yet famous, and he was merely a young ape.
Who would take him seriously?
Yi Qingtang squinted her eyes. Anger brewed within her silently as she looked at Beta Demon Lord's lonely and miserable expression. How could her sworn brother tolerate such insults from outsiders? Is there still anyone who wants a bid? If not, this bone of the dragon breath will belong to our Jiang family. Yi Sun announced while assuming the Jiang family's authority as her own. As she spoke, she mockingly cast Beta Demon Lord a provocative glance. No one else in the auction house dared to compete with the Jiang family, thus, no bids were shouted. Yet, just as Yi Yu believed that she won the bid, a voice suddenly rang. 60,000 spirit coins. Everyone was dumbstruck. They looked in the direction of the voice, but could only faintly see a tiny figure beside the huge Beidou demon lord raising her hand. However, Beidou demon lord's frame was too large, and that girl's face was completely covered in his shadow. Thus, no one could see her clearly. Yu frowned slightly, as she did not expect anyone to dare to contest for the item with her. She immediately shot Yi Sun a look, who then understood what Yu meant immediately and raised her hand. 70,000. 80,000. The girl in the shadows raised the bid immediately after Yi Sun. Damn it! Is this person bent on going against us? I did not see her bidding just now. Yi Sun gritted her teeth. Yi Yu's brows remained furrowed. She took a look in that direction but could only see Beidou demon lord's figure. Why did she find this voice familiar? Chapter 14:14 Competing Your Wealth with Me? 1. Continue, Yu said. 90,000. Yi Sun offered immediately. 100,000. The girl in the shadows seemed to be against Yu. As long as Yu's side offered a bid, she followed immediately after without hesitation. Beidou demon lord, who was originally utterly despondent, was taken aback when the little girl beside him suddenly began to compete with the two ladies from the Jiang family fiercely. Little girl, do you want this bone of the dragon breath as well? Beidou demon lord asked curiously. Yi Qingtang smiled at him, without saying anything. Then, Yi seemed to be rather impatient and simply told Yi Sun to offer a shocking amount to win Yi Qingtang's bid of 100,000 spirit coins. 150,000 spirit coins. Everyone gasped at the bid. 150,000 spirit coins? This was an amount that no family clan dared to imagine. This lady is indeed from the Jiang family. Her bidding is simply gallant. The entire auction was halted for a moment as the offer price of 15,000 spirit coins was shouted, and the girl in the shadows did not seem to have any thoughts of raising the bid. A smile emerged on Yi Yu's face. Yi Sun said, "That girl really overestimated herself. How dare she fight with you, Sister Yu? Who doesn't know that grandfather, the domain monarch, dotes on you the most? With the entire Jiang family on your back, who could win against you?" The domain monarch was extremely attentive to Yi Yu, his granddaughter, whom he found after losing her. For Yi Yu's trip to Burnt City, he specially sent an elder to follow her and even gave her 200,000 spirit coins to spend freely. Ordinary family clans could not accumulate 200,000 spirit coins even if they sold all their assets. However, in the Jiang family, it was merely a small token of affection from the domain monarch to his granddaughter. For a moment, many were overwhelmed with emotion at the thought of the Jiang family's wealth. But just as everyone thought that the ultimate bid price of the bone of the dragon breath was 150,000 spirit coins, that girl who had remained silent suddenly said an amount that left everyone agape. 300,000. Everyone in the auction house froze. 300,000 spirit coins? Does that girl even know that she bid such an unimaginable price? Even Yi Yu and Yi Sun were utterly stunned. 300,000 spirit coins? What joke is this? They had a little over 200,000 spirit coins on their hands at most, and that was an amount that others did not even dare to imagine. Yet, that girl actually offered an astronomical price of 300,000 spirit coins? It was double the price that Yi Yu offered. The smile on Yi Yu's face froze completely, and a layer of frost seemed to plaster over her face. Yi Sun's expression turned ugly as well. Seeing the displeasure on Yi Yu's face, Yi Sun immediately said, "This friend over here, do you know that this Lady Yi Yu is the biological granddaughter of the domain monarch? She wanted this bone of the dragon breath first. She did not believe that the person would not retreat after hearing the domain monarch title." But before Yi Sun could finish her sentence, the girl in the shadows snickered and said, "This is an auction. If you want the item, use your money to auction for it. If you don't have money, then stop harassing others. The highest bidder wins the item. Don't you know the rules of an auction?" The words Yi Sun insulted Beidou Demon Lord with were now shoved back in her face by that girl in the shadows. Yi Sun froze and wanted to retort. Chapter 14:15 Competing Your Wealth with Me? 2 Nevertheless, the girl spoke once again. The auction has not ended. If you all really want it, go ahead and bid. Yi Sun's face darkened completely. If they had the money, why would they be talking all that bullshit with her? 200,000 spirit coins was already an astronomical amount, but who would have thought that there was an even wealthier person in this auction? The Jiang family was powerful, but to whom was it being compared to was the key. Yi Qingtang just left the Temple of Shadows as the Holy Lord of Shadows. The Temple of Shadows was once a supreme force in the central mainland. Although it waned subsequently, the wealth that it stored at its peak would make many people shudder. Furthermore, the undead clan did not like eating or drinking and did not have any illnesses. The Holy Lord of Shadows obtained most of the Dharma treasures and elixirs from the second domain through the Crimson League, and there was nothing to spend their money on. If they were only comparing wealth, even the ancient Yu clan and sacred ground of reflection added together might not defeat the Temple of Shadows, much less a Jiang family. If they were to compete on wealth, the Temple of Shadows had never been afraid of anyone. When Yi Qingtang left the Temple of Shadows, she brought along the Holy Lord of Shadows spirit card that stored a magnificent amount of spirit coins. Affluent people store massive amounts of spirit coins in a spirit card. Even if there was another zero behind the 300,000, Yi Qingtang reckoned that the Holy Lord of Shadows spirit card could still supply the amount. The wealthiest person in the central mainland was none other than the Holy Lord of Shadows. Yi was completely silent this time. There was a flurry of discussions in the auction, as everyone guessed which force that rich girl belonged to for her to be able to offer a price that was even scarier than what was possible for the people from the Jiang family. Moreover, she did not even give them any face. Beta Demon Lord shuddered as well. Earlier on, he thought that his 40,000 spirit coins was already an exorbitant amount, but compared to this little girl beside him, it was simply another thing. How wretched! Little girl, you are actually so rich. Beta Demon Lord swallowed his saliva as he looked at the tiny Yi Qingtang, who was not even the size of his palm. Still all right. Yi Qingtang smiled humbly. Beta Demon Lord's lips twitched a little. Although he failed to get the bone of the dragon breath in the end, he was comforted that it was won by the little girl beside her instead of those 2 aggressive girls. Ultimately, the bone of the dragon breath landed in Yi Qingtang's space ring safely. Even though she was blocked by Beta Demon Lord, Yi Qingtang could already sense the sharp gazes that Yi Yu and Yi Sun shot at her. After storing the bone of the dragon breath, Yi Qingtang tugged Beta Demon Lord's long fur immediately. Let's go. Beta Demon Lord was in a daze. You're not auctioning anymore?
I don't have money already.
Yi Qingtang found a random excuse. Thinking that the item he wanted was already auctioned away and that there was no reason to stay, Beta Demon Lord left the auction house with Yi Qingtang. Throughout the whole process, Yi Qingtang was completely blocked by Beta Demon Lord, and no one could see her. Sister Yu, they have left. Yi Sun was rather anxious as she watched Beta Demon Lord and Yi Qingtang leave. The bone of the dragon breath was very important to Yi Yu narrowed her eyes and rose immediately. Look for Elder Su. After leaving the auction house, Yi Qingtang did not pause in her tracks and directly dragged Beta Demon Lord out of Burnt City. Beta Demon Lord did not think much as he was led out of Burnt City by Yi Qingtang. Competing your wealth with me? 3-inch little girl. I have to leave now. I am quite happy to know you. If there's a chance in the future, I will treat you to frozen bananas again, Beta Demon Lord said with a smile. Looking at the young Beta Demon Lord before her, memories from her previous life rushed into Yi Qingtang's head, and she immediately took out the bone of the dragon breath from her space ring and stuffed it into Beta Demon Lord's hand. Little girl, what do you mean by this? Beta Demon Lord's eyes popped wide when he saw the bone of the dragon breath in his hand. I could not stand those 2, and fought with them on purpose. This item is not much use to me. It's yours now, Yi Qingtang said plainly. Beta Demon Lord gasped and hurriedly stuffed the bone of the dragon breath back into Yi Qingtang's hand. Little girl,
I can't take it.
You spent 300,000 spirit coins on this bone of the dragon breath. How could I take it? You are still young and don't know how precious this bone of the dragon breath is. There's a lot of benefits if you use it to cultivate in the future. I cannot take this item. Yi Qingtang's eyes were filled with smiles as she looked at the frank and upright Beidou Demon Lord. In her previous life, she owed him a piece of the bone of the dragon breath, and she must return it to him this time. If Beidou Demon Lord could obtain this bone of the dragon breath earlier in her previous life, perhaps his skills would have advanced to another stage. He could become the most formidable of the demon clan, and he could rescue his father. And would not die with regrets. You have misunderstood. I am not giving this bone of the dragon breath to you. You still have to return the equivalent amount of spirit coins to me in the future. Yi Qingtang knew that he definitely would not accept it if she gave it to Beidou Demon Lord for free. Thus, she changed her reason. Are you not afraid that I will renege on the debt? Beidou Demon Lord was taken aback. I am afraid. Yi Qingtang nodded with a smile. Beidou Demon Lord was utterly dumbfounded. So we can first become sworn siblings. If you become my brother, you will not renege on your sister's debt, right? Yi Qingtang smiled while tricking the straightforward Beidou Demon Lord. Beidou Demon Lord was in a daze as he looked at the bone of the dragon breath in his hand, and then at Yi Qingtang. He needed the bone of the dragon breath desperately. All right. Let's do it. He liked this little girl the moment he saw her, and he gained such huge help from her now. Thus, he was naturally happy to be sworn siblings with her. I will call you sworn brother in the future then. Yi Qingtang smiled and asked. All right. You are my little sister then. Beidou Demon Lord grinned happily. He did not have any brothers or sisters. Yi Qingtang smiled.
It was an earnest smile this time. Great.
Her sworn brother had returned. She would never let him die with resentment this time. After Yi Qingtang and Beidou Demon Lord became sworn siblings, a few figures suddenly flew toward them from Burnt City. The smile on Yi Qingtang's face vanished instantly. They still chased after, didn't they? In the next second, Yi Yu, Yi Sun, an elderly with a white mustache, and a few middle-aged men flew toward Yi Qingtang and Beidou Demon Lord. Yi Qingtang knew that Yi would not give up on the bone of the dragon breath easily. Thus, she left immediately after obtaining the bone of the dragon breath. Yet, unexpectedly, they still chased after them. Great. You two are in the same gang. How dare you two think of fleeing after snatching Sister Yu's item? Yi Sun had not reached them, but her voice had already traveled over. Beidou Demon Lord was startled, and he instinctively guarded Yi Qingtang behind him. Little sister, leave first. I will stall them. Before Beidou Demon Lord could finish his sentence, Yi Yu and the rest appeared before them and blocked their way. Chapter 14:17 The Guilty Party Files the Suit 1 Elder Su. It's those two who snatched Sister Yu's bone of the dragon breath. Yi Sun immediately pointed at Beidou Demon Lord after landing. That Elder Su looked old, but his eyes were bright and sharp. He glanced at Beidou Demon Lord and vaguely sensed that there was still someone hiding behind Beidou Demon Lord. Beidou Demon Lord had never seen such a shameless person before. What do you mean by snatch? My little sister auctioned for the bone of the dragon breath with 300,000 spirit coins. Sister, you wanted the bone of the dragon breath first. It's clearly you all who snatched it. Yi Sun could not be bothered with the auction or not. To her, as long as Yi had her eyes on anything, everyone else had to give it up for her. You, Beidou Demon Lord, who was not good with words to begin with, was so furious that he was left speechless. Hand the bone of the dragon breath to us, and I can consider to let you all die in one piece, Elder Su said haughtily as his eyes swept across Beidou Demon Lord as if he had no regard for this demon youth. Can you all be reasonable? We clearly auctioned for this item, the Beidou Demon Lord attempted to argue. However, impatience was written all over Elder Zu's face. You all are not fit to talk about reason with the Jiang family. Beidou Demon Lord's expression contorted. He clenched his fists tightly and turned around to look at Yi Qingtang, who was behind him while secretly calculating the distance between him and that Elder Su. Elder Su was already in the Heavenly Venerate realm. Although Beta Demon Lord was about to advance to the Heavenly Venerate, there was still a big difference in his skills compared to those of Elder Su. Little sister, leave now. I will stall them. Beta Demon Lord was not foolish either. This Elder Su clearly wanted to kill them, and regardless of whether they handed the bone of the dragon breath over, Elder Su would still kill them for offending the Jiang family's dignity. You all have offended the Jiang family. Do you all still think of running away? Elder Zu's expression turned cold. Before Beta Demon Lord realized what was happening, Elder Su flew toward them like a bolt of lightning, surpassed Beta Demon Lord's large frame, and hit the person hiding behind Beta Demon Lord. Let me see who this person who dares to oppose the Jiang family is. Feeling a forceful blast of wind, Yi Qingtang hurriedly dodged as speedily as she could. Yet, despite doing so, her cheek was still cut by the air pressure from Elder Zu's attack, and it left a streak of blood. At this instant, Yi Yu, who had been silent all this while, clearly saw the face of the girl who dared to compete with her. She was dumbfounded by what she saw. That alluring appearance was more than familiar. No wonder she found the person's voice extremely familiar earlier on. Yi Qingtang. It's actually you. Yi Sun was surprised, and she glared at Yi Qingtang, whose face was finally revealed. Yi Yu and Yi Sun left the First Mainland very early on, but they learned from the Jiang family that all living beings on the First Mainland had vanished completely, and the little lady who devoured all life on the First Mainland was brought back by the ancient Yu clan. They thought that Yi Qingtang had already died in the First Mainland. Yet, unexpectedly, she was still alive. What's more, she even came to the Central Mainland. Yi Yu squinted slightly as a murderous expression emerged in her eyes.
Why?
Do you all know her? Elder Su looked at Yi Yu and Yi Sun. Chapter 1418 The Guilty Party files the suit. Yi Sun nodded immediately and filed a suit despite being the evildoer. Elder Su, this person has been opposing Sister Yu since in the First Mainland and brought many troubles to Sister Yu. She must have snatched that bone of the dragon breath intentionally today because of her hatred towards Sister Yu. Elder Su, you must not let such a despicable person off. Elder Su took a glance at Yi Yu, who had an aversive expression, and believed Yi Sun. He then shot Yi Qingtang a cold, murderous look. There's actually such an impetuous person who dares to offend a lady of the Jiang family time and time again. A powerful aura was emitted by Elder Su. In the assault of that aura, Yi Qingtang and Beta Demon Lord turned pale from the repressive force. Yi Qingtang clearly sensed the difference between herself and Elder Su. She glanced at Beta Demon Lord, and her expression changed. Then, she resisted the repression with all her might and spoke. I was the one who bathed the bone of the dragon breath, and Yi Yu's enemy is me. This has nothing to do with the young ape. Beta Demon Lord was stunned to hear that. He bolted to Yi Qingtang's front immediately and growled, If you all dare to harm my little sister, it will be over my dead body. That huge frame was like a tall wall that did its best to block Yi Qingtang from all harm. Tears suddenly welled up in Yi Qingtang's eyes as she looked at the back view of Beta Demon Lord. Her sworn brother really did not change at all. In her past and present lives, he always protected her with his life.
Ha!
There's no need to fight. Both of you will die here today, Elder Su snickered. A pleased expression emerged on Yi Sun's face. Back then, she was forced to flee Lin Town by Yi Qingtang, but she was about to personally witness Yi Qingtang's death now. How could it not be satisfactory? Yi Qingtang, this is because you courted death. Who do you think you are to fight with Sister Yu? You aren't even fit to carry Sister Yu's shoes. Yi Yu's eyes swept across Yi Qingtang, and a seeming smile played on her lips before speaking to Elder Su beside her. Grandfather is still waiting for me to return. Please settle these two people as quickly as possible, Elder Su. Elder Su nodded and attacked immediately. He exuded a destructive aura that lingered around him. With a furious roar, Beta Demon Lord pounded the ground with his fists, and the ground beneath his feet cracked the instant his enormous fists crashed onto the ground. Endless boulders were formed from the ground, and he hurled those boulders at Elder Sue with roars. However, those heavy boulders did not even break Elder Zu's defense and were crushed into pieces instead. "Little sister, leave first." Beta Demon Lord knew that Elder Sue was formidable, and he and Yi Qingtang would probably still die, even if they fought for their lives. Instead, he could stall for some time to give Yi Qingtang a chance to survive. How could Yi Qingtang abandon Beta Demon Lord behind and leave by herself? Yi Qingtang unsheathed her sword immediately and prepared to fight alongside Beta Demon Lord. However, just as Elder Sue was about to strike his lethal move, a bolt of lightning suddenly struck the spot before Elder Sue and blocked his way. In the next second, numerous bolts of lightning from the sky struck right at Yi Yu and Yi Sun, who were watching the show at the back. The speed of those lightning flashes were extremely furious. Yi frowned slightly, while Yi Sun turned pale from shock. What is happening? Chapter 1419 The Guilty Party Files the Suit 3 Seeing that Yi was in danger, Elder Sue immediately withdrew himself and caught both girls in each hand to dodge the lightning strikes. No one expected this abrupt change of events. Yi Qingtang, who originally prepared to fight to death, was surprised as well. In the next second, a few figures suddenly descended from the sky and landed right before Elder Sue and the rest. They were a few middle-aged men with overbearing demeanors. The leader of the group had white hair and stood with his hands behind his back. His sharp gaze completely ignored Yi Qingtang and Beta Demon Lord and shot right at Elder Sue. Ancient Yu Clan, what is the meaning of this? Elder Sue frowned slightly as he looked at the people who suddenly appeared to kill them. These people were members of the Ancient Yu Clan, and that elderly in the lead was an elder of Ancient Yu Clan. Both the domain monarchs Jiang family and Ancient Yu Clan were top forces of the central mainland and had never interfered with each other. However, the Ancient Yu Clan suddenly attacked them today, which displeased Elder Sue immensely. What is the meaning of this? The Ancient Yu Clan should be the one asking the Jiang family that, the Ancient Yu Clan elder said coldly. Ask us. Elder Sue was perplexed. The Jiang family has always minded our own business and coexisted peacefully with the Ancient Yu Clan for thousands of years. There has been no exception. Stop acting innocent, a middle-aged man from the Ancient Yu Clan berated loudly. Do you all think that we don't know what your Jiang family did in the first mainland? So much for proclaiming to be noble and virtuous, when you all are so vicious in the dark. How shameless. When the Ancient Yu Clan headed to the first mainland to collect the spiritual abode, the Jiang family had already implied that they would not interfere. Yet, the Ancient Yu Clan never expected to encounter the hindrance from a high-ranking member of the Jiang family in the first mainland, and the Ancient Yu Clan did not forget this score.
What are you all saying?
Why do I not understand? Elder Zu's brows were furrowed slightly. They went to the first mainland for a short while and returned. When had they ever been in conflict with the Ancient Yu Clan? Stop acting innocent in front of us. No matter what you say today, the Ancient Yu Clan will not believe it. Since the Jiang family broke the rules, don't blame the Ancient Yu Clan for being merciless. The Ancient Yu Clan elder said coldly. Elder Sue had a grim expression. No matter how he thought about it, he could not understand when they opposed the Ancient Yu Clan. Elder Sue, I think that this Ancient Yu Clan is clearly finding an excuse to eliminate our Jiang family. Yi Sun whispered with a frown. Elder Zu's expression changed subtly. The skills of the Ancient Yu Clan and Jiang family were almost on par before, but if they were to really fight, the Jiang family would definitely win by a margin. But after the Ancient Yu Clan brought the spiritual abode back from the first mainland, their skills increased massively, and their forces expanded rapidly over this period of time as well. Aren't you all afraid to declare war with the Jiang family? Elder Sue said coldly. Declare war? If there really was a declaration of war, it will be the Jiang family who declares it. The Ancient Yu Clan people snickered. The instant they finished their sentence, the ancient Yu clan elder immediately led his men and sprinted towards Elder Su. Elder Zu's expression froze, and he attacked immediately. However, he had to take into account Yi Yu's safety as well, and thus was on high alert constantly. Chapter 14:20 Who exactly are you? One in just the blink of an eye, the ancient Yu clan people and Elder Su were in a tussle. In contrast, Beidou Demon Lord and Yi Qingtang, who were almost slaughtered by Elder Su, were forgotten by everyone. Little sister, what's going on? Beidou Demon Lord was fueled with energy after preparing to fight with his life. But why were the Jiang family and ancient Yu clan fighting out of the blue? Although Beidou Demon Lord was part of the Demon Clan, he had heard of these two top forces before as well. It was rumored that these two forces were not on friendly terms but coexisted peacefully.
Why?
Were they suddenly fighting? Maybe the Jiang family just has many enemies. A smile plastered on Yi Qingtang's face gradually. The ancient Yu clan's arrival was really timely. Back in the first mainland, Yi Qingtang disguised herself as someone from the Jiang family only on the spur of the moment. But looking at it now, the effect was pretty good. She reckoned that the ancient Yu clan had vehement hatred toward the Jiang family and would make sure justice was served. While the Jiang family was completely hidden in the dark. Go ahead and attack. It's best if they attack them till they die. Then Beidou Demon Lord was a little dumbfounded. What are you still standing there for? When can we leave if not now? Yi Qingtang grabbed Beidou Demon Lord's finger and fled swiftly. Elder Zu's skills were rather amazing. Although the ancient Yu clan side won in numbers, Elder Su might have some Dharma treasures on him, and it may be effortless for him to withdraw himself from the battle to kill her and Beidou Demon Lord. While Yi Qingtang wanted to see if Yi Yu and Yi Sun would be killed along by the ancient Yu clan, she did not join in the fun in order to save her life. Yi Qingtang fled swiftly, while carrying the little white tiger in one arm and pulling Beidou Demon Lord with the other hand. Yi Yu and the rest, who were encircled by the ancient Yu clan, noticed that Yi Qingtang escaped, and their expressions darkened immediately. Sister Yu, Yi Qingtang escaped. Yi Sun exclaimed. But before she could finish speaking, a person from the ancient Yu clan struck them with a scarlet blast of wind from his palm. With a slight frown, Yi Yu pulled Yi Sun back and attacked the person. It was not the time to care about Yi Qingtang's escape right now. As long as Yi Qingtang was in the central mainland, using the Jiang family's powers, finding her was child's play. Although these people from the ancient Yu clan were pretty skilled, that elder was recently nominated, and his skills were not yet as profound as Elder Zu's. Elder Su had to care about Yi Yu's safety and naturally did not dare to hassle with them. He immediately used a talisman, grabbed Yi Yu and Yi Sun, and disappeared right before the ancient Yu clan people's eyes. The three people reappeared in the wild miles away. Sorry to trouble you, Elder Su, Yi Yu said with cupped fists. It's fine. I just don't know why the ancient Yu clan went berserk to attack us. Elder Su just could not understand it, as they did not get into any conflict with the ancient Yu clan when they were in the first mainland. The ancient Yu clan is ambitious. They have obtained the spiritual abode, and am afraid that they have the intention of replacing the Jiang family to be the next domain MO. If they really have that ambition, wouldn't they use anything as an excuse?
You said.
Elder Su frowned slightly. That Yi Qingtang really got lucky. Had the ancient Yu clan not appeared suddenly, she would definitely die here. I just don't know how this evil woman would harm Sister Yu again in the future, Yi Sun said while looking at Yi Yu worryingly. Chapter 14:21 Who exactly are you two? Yi Yu is a lady of the Jiang family. Who dares to harm her? Elder Su said coldly. You are right, Elder Su. Yi Sun nodded with extreme obedience. Elder Su handed two talismans to Yi Yu and Yi Sun. Ancient Yu clan probably will not be able to reach us. Use this talisman to return to the Jiang family first. As for that Yi Qingtang, I will get rid of her. I will meet with you back at the Jiang family. Delight flashed across the eyes of Yi Yu and Yi Sun after hearing what Elder Su said. Elder Su, There's no need to exhaust yourself. I will ignore her at most. Yiyu brushed away the delight on her face silently and acted as though she put the interests of the whole before everything else.
She's just a little brat.
Killing her won't take much effort. Yiyu, you must remember that you are the domain monarch's granddaughter now. No one can let you suffer from injustice. Elder Su looked at Yiyu affectionately. The domain monarch was of old age now. He had great accomplishments in his early years and was now at the age to dote on his children and grandchildren. As such, he specially sent people to the first mainland to bring back his lost granddaughter. Although Yiyu was born in the first mainland, she was very obedient and sensible. Moreover, she was rather gifted and received a lot of affection from the domain monarch. I'll have to trouble you then, Elder Su. Yiyu bowed gracefully. After a slight nod, Elder Su flew out immediately. As Yiyu watched Elder Su leave, the warmth in her eyes dissipated instantly, and it was replaced with iciness. Rest assured, Sister Yu. With Elder Su around, Yi Qingtang will not be able to fly even if she has wings, Yi Sun said. On the other side, Yi Qingtang sprinted furiously with the little white tiger and Beidou Demon Lord. If not for her fear that she would be too large of a target if she flew in the sky, she would have escaped by flight. But even so, they were still caught up. Where do you all wish to escape to? Elder Zu's figure suddenly appeared in their way. He caught up so quickly. When Yi Qingtang saw Elder Su, she could not help but despise the weak support of those people from the ancient Yu clan for only stalling so little time. Do you all still wish to live after offending the Zhang family? Hand the bone of the dragon breath over obediently, and I will give you 2 fast deaths. Impatience filled Elder Zu's face. There was something extremely strange about the ancient Yu clan incident, and he needed to report to the Zhang family quickly. He had no time to waste with these 2 people. We can't escape anymore. Little sister, you. Beta Demon Lord wanted Yi Qingtang to leave first, but Yi Qingtang cut him and said, since we can't escape anymore, let's fight it out with him. Without waiting for Beidou Demon Lord to decline, Yi Qingtang leaped up and dashed forward with her sword. Whether she fled or not, the outcome was still death. She might as well give it her all. Perhaps she might be able to make it out alive. Seeing that Yi Qingtang had already made an attack, Beidou Demon Lord pounded the ground furiously. With a roar, his huge frame jumped up and lunged at Elder Su. You all are overconfident. Elder Su had a cold expression. His eyes swept across Yi Qingtang and Beidou Demon Lord, and a scarlet glow diffused around him gradually. Without moving his body, that red light suddenly spread explosively and sent the incoming Yi Qingtang and Beidou Demon Lord flying away. The skills of a heavenly venerate were not restricted in this central mainland. Yi Qingtang and Beidou Demon Lord landed on the ground and spat a mouthful of blood. Let's begin with you first. Elder Zu's cold gaze landed on Beidou Demon Lord. It was a look of despise from the domain monarch's clan toward the alien clan. Chapter 1422. Who exactly are you 3? In the next second, Elder Su flew to the sky, and a piercing scarlet glow shot out from his palm, which struck toward Beidou Demon Lord's heart. Yi Qingtang was astonished, and she took out the mirror of illusions at once. Right before the scarlet glow was going to touch him, the mirror of illusions that Yi Qingtang took out flew to Beidou Demon Lord's heart and received the blow. In an instant, that murderous scarlet glow turned into crimson butterflies, which flapped their wings and dispersed. Mirror of illusions. You do have some stuff, but it's a pity that you can only use it once in a short period of time. A murderous expression emerged on Elder Zu's face. A huge scarlet glow behind him expanded suddenly, like a red sun that hung in the sky. Anyone who offends the Jiang family must die. The cold voice was like a funeral bell. In the next second that it rang, a huge scarlet glow shot at Yi Qingtang and Beidou Demon Lord. Careful! Beidou Demon Lord flipped over and protected Yi Qingtang beneath him the moment he saw that supreme force crashing toward them.
Boom!
That ball of scarlet glow hit Beidou Demon Lord's back directly and caused a huge wound on his large back. His originally glistening fur was completely burnt, and his flesh was ripped apart by the scarlet glow. Beidou Demon Lord spouted a mouthful of blood, which splattered all over Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang widened her eyes as she looked at Beidou Demon Lord's large frame that loomed over her and his contorted expression as a result of the pain. The sight before her overlapped with the scene from her previous life. "Brother!" A shout exploded from Yi Qingtang's chest, and black flames covered her body instantly. She rushed out of Beidou Demon Lord's protection quickly, and the black flames around her body crashed into the next blow of scarlet glow that struck at Beidou Demon Lord's back. The heavenly venerate skills were not what she could resist as an arcane supremacy 8th heaven. In the next instant, blood shot out of the ears of Yi Qingtang, who forcefully bore the attack. All her energy was depleted, and blood dripped from the corner of her lips. The little white tiger who was set aside by Yi Qingtang was alarmed by the sight.
Fuck.
"I'm going to fight it out with you." In just a moment's time, the little white tiger's body enlarged out of a sudden as a white flame shot out from its mouth and hit straight at Elder Su. Fiend Celestial Beast. A look of surprise flashed across Elder Zu's eyes when he saw the white tiger, which enlarged dozens of times. However, he turned calm very quickly and raised his hand to crush the flame that the white tiger shot out. The white tiger spouted flames continuously in an attempt to stop Elder Su. "You're just an infant. How can you harm me?" With the wave of a hand, a scarlet glow flowed out of his palm and crushed the white tiger on the ground. Under the overbearing force, the white tiger was pressed on the ground and unable to move. "You're not bad, though. Once I kill them, I will bring you back to the Jiang family and give you to Yu. Fuck. Fuck. The white tiger could not move and wished it could bite this bastard to death. Yi Qingtang's powers have already reached the limit. Looking at the white tiger who was pressed on the ground, she spat out a mouthful of blood, and the black flames around her body disappeared rapidly. However, right before the black flames disappeared utterly, the heavenly demon devouring bloodline that had been dormant in her body seemed to have felt a familiar energy and erupted out of her. Misunderstanding 1 inch, just an instant. It enveloped Yi Qingtang completely, while Elder Zu's scarlet glow was instantly devoured by the powers of the heavenly demon devouring bloodline. This is... Elder Su was astonished when he saw the energy that enveloped Yi Qingtang, and he retracted all his powers hurriedly in the next second. The moment Elder Su retracted his powers, Yi Qingtang was thrown off and crashed to the ground. Her entire body felt crushed as an excruciating pain spread throughout her body. Elder Zu's eyes were filled with surprise as he looked at Yi Qingtang, who laid on the ground panting. He suddenly landed on the ground, flew to Yi Qingtang's side, and reached his hand out toward Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang's brows were locked together as she lifted her sword shakily, wanting to continue the desperate fight. Elder Su saw that Yi Qingtang still wanted to attack and hurriedly stopped in his tracks. The murderous expression on his face completely turned into worry and nervousness. "I will not touch you. Your injuries are too serious. Do not be rash." There was immense nervousness in his tone. Yi Qingtang's head buzzed. Despite the sudden change in Elder Zu's attitude, she did not let her guard down at all. Elder Su noticed that Yi Qingtang was guarded against him and immediately retreated. He took out a few bottles of supreme-grade elixirs from his space ring and tossed it to Yi Qingtang. "Your injuries are too serious. Hurry, consume these elixirs to calm your body down." "Didn't you want to kill me?" Yi Qingtang frowned at Elder Su, who had a strange attitude. Elder Zu's brows furrowed slightly, seeming to be very worried about Yi Qingtang's injuries. "I'm not killing you anymore. Little girl, this is all a misunderstanding. The heavenly demon bloodline that appeared on your body is unique to the Jiang family. Who exactly are you? Why do you have the heavenly demon bloodline? Who are your parents?" The current Elder Su had lost all his prior coolness in killing her, and his eyes were filled with worry like a compassionate elderly. Just a while ago, he discovered that this girl actually possessed the heavenly demon bloodline. In this entire world, Apart from the heavenly demon, only members of the Jiang family had this bloodline. This girl must be a descendant of the Jiang family that was stranded outside. From whom of the Jiang family did this girl inherit the bloodline was the question. Yi Qingtang was slightly dumbfounded when she heard what Elder Su said. She was too nervous just now and forgot about this. The heavenly demon bloodline in her was from that lady at the exit of the inheritance of the divine phoenix. That lady originally wanted to seize Yi Qingtang's inheritance of the divine phoenix, but had her heavenly demon bloodline seized by Yi Qingtang instead. However, Elder Su did not know all of this. All he knew was that anyone with the heavenly demon bloodline was definitely a descendant of the Jiang family, and moreover, this girl's heavenly demon bloodline was the rare variant, the heavenly demon devouring bloodline. It had been thousands of years since a heavenly demon bloodline variant appeared in the Jiang family. Thousands of years ago, the Jiang family once produced a talent who possessed the heavenly demon devouring bloodline. He was extremely gifted and exceeded almost everyone. In a short span of time, he dashed out of the first domain and burst into the second domain. It was rumored that he eventually entered the third domain, and even the legendary fourth domain, or perhaps even became an immortal. If that talent was still present, how would the Jiang family be the top force of only the central mainland? Chapter 1424 Misunderstanding, 2 Even trampling over the second domain and dominating the third domain were probably imminent. Elder Su never would have thought that the little girl whom he almost killed actually possessed the rare, heavenly demon devouring bloodline. Looking at the worried Elder Su, Yi Qingtang sighed secretly and used her brain immediately. The Jiang family cared most about their bloodlines and descendants. Otherwise, they would not have gone the distance to the first mainland to bring Yi back. Now, she was also mistaken as an abandoned descendant of the Jiang family. A thought struck Yi Qingtang immediately, but she kept a cautious expression. Isn't Yi the clearest about who I am? Yi. Elder Su frowned slightly. He knew that Yi disliked Yi Qingtang strongly, which was why he went after her life, but he did not ask her about the reason. After all, to him, anyone other than the members of the Jiang family could be killed freely. In the first mainland, Yi and I were from the same family clan. Although I was adopted by my father, I also grew up in the Yi family with Yi. I did not think that Yi hated me so much that she would still be thinking of killing me now that we are in the central mainland. Yi Qingtang put on a dejected look and snickered. Since you're from Yi's side, just kill me if you want. Why are you still asking me so much? I'm an orphan, anyway. If not for my foster father, I would not have lived till now. Yi Qingtang said with a decisive expression, but what she said was sufficiently misleading. First, she pointed out the grudge between her and Yi, and second, she stated that her parentage was a mystery as she was adopted by the Yi family. Thus, she did not know who her parents were. Yet, Elder Su was regretful to hear what she said. Child, you're not an orphan. You're a child of the Jiang family, and the heavenly demon bloodline in you is the best evidence. Elder Su was filled with sympathy and regret as he looked at the battered Yi Qingtang. If not for that young ape's protection earlier on, he would have almost killed this Jiang family descendant and extinguished their hope of regaining a talent that possessed the variant of the heavenly demon bloodline. I'm a child of the Jiang family? Yi Qingtang had a look of disbelief. Of course. Apart from the Jiang family, who else would possess the heavenly demon bloodline? Elder Su said compassionately. Why wouldn't there be? Didn't she seize one? Yi Qingtang giggled on the inside, but put on a conflicted expression. Don't lie to me. I know that you are with Yi. Elder Su sighed softly. Why would I lie to you? Given my skills, killing you is child's play. Don't worry. I have verified your identity now and definitely will not do anything to harm you. Quickly consume these elixirs, and I will bring you back to the Jiang family. Once you are back in the Jiang family, no one in the central mainland can harm you anymore. What you've said is all real. You really will not kill me? Even though Yi Qingtang was having trouble stifling her laughter, she continued to put on an insecure expression, which resembled that of a little bunny. Yi Qingtang, who had exceptional looks to begin with, was now injured and pale. On top of that, this expression made her appear even more pitiful, and Elder Su felt extremely sorry. Why did he attack so harshly just now? Look how scared this child is now. Elder Su tried his best to put on a kind look and said gently, "It's all true." It was only then that Yi Qingtang consumed those elixirs doubtfully. The Jiang family was indeed the domain monarch. All of these elixirs were supreme grade, and any one of them could probably be sold at an exorbitant price. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.